touchdown. In the first touchdown of the 12-team playoff.
This is 365 Sports.
Keeps it. Scores.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Underneath, Smith gets to the corner. Money on the rise. Touchdown. Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Johnson some time. There's the tight end again. Rumbling towards the end zone. And a touchdown for Ancio.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Klubnik's going to take off. Klubnik with a touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
365 Sports on this Thursday afternoon. You may wonder why I'm wearing kind of a Q-zip or whatever. In the studio, it's freezing, and so I try to keep myself warm, and we do have quite the show today with all of the news surrounding Baylor Director of Athletics and who was the spokesperson for the college football playoff in Mack Rhoades. We mentioned and discussed the story that back about a month ago with Arizona State and the confrontation with tight end Michael Trigg and also assistant coach Jared Anderson on Monday. And today, it now gets even worse. Mack Rhoades, here we are. He's out, not officially as the AD, but he is no longer the college football chairperson. He also will be on, I would think you guess the term would be leave of absence at Baylor as the director of athletics. I have been told by a few people that it would be 4 weeks, and we don't know. Could it be 4 weeks and then another decision's made? Don't know that, but right now that's the story, and we'll get into more of details here with Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, and David Smoak.
Yeah, and we'll get into the details probably a little bit quicker than we normally do on this because there's new stuff that's kind of come out in the last 30 minutes or so right before we started the show that kind of informs more of this information. We are known to have a very good relationship with Mack. He was on our show every Tuesday or Wednesday for about 8 years. So we've talked to him quite a bit. We know him well, and there's a lot of personal things going on, and obviously you hope that he gets those under control, but there are far-reaching consequences for this, not only at Baylor, but with the CFP as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty shocking news. You felt like there was a chance that Trigg's story and just all of that bubbling was going to maybe turn into, something, but then it sort of fizzled out. They apparently had their investigation and it appeared as though that was just going to kind of blow over. It didn't sound like Michael Trigg was wanting to make it too much more of a bigger deal than it already was. And they were kind of keeping that close to the vest, and there was nothing criminal about it. There was, just this incident on the sideline of which it was very much kind of foggy on the exact details of it all, and still sort of is. Although we did learn quite a bit through the Outkick story last Friday, but then you had the college football weekend, and I said this, and I think it's, I'm not going to take any more shots at Baylor because they're already getting pummeled with plenty of them today, but I think them not being very relevant right now kind of saved that from being a much bigger story maybe nationally. But I think mostly it was the college football weekend. So anyways, we get to the weekend, and then you turn around, and it's like, all right, that seems like it's past. We'll see what happens with what they decide to do, but it appears as though there's not going to be any major changes as a result of this, and then all of a sudden this drops. And this is a much different turn in the story than any of us were expecting. And there's a lot to get into, but to be in a position like the chair of the college football playoff committee, that is an honor. That is a huge honor. And I know it was one that he was excited about and proud to have been bestowed. And to now have to step away to deal with whatever he's going to have to deal with, and to have this so very public, it's a reckoning today for Mack Rhoades.
One thing about Mack Rhoades, and I did share some conversations with a couple of people that know him pretty well, and we're going to get to the details. He has been known across the country as good as anybody in college athletics at handling chaos and crisis. And that's one of his, if not his biggest strength, wherever he's been, Missouri, and then obviously Baylor when he arrived in the summer of 2016, in August, in fact, of 16. But sometimes your strength, you look around and you forget you yourself might be going through something and you don't recognize it. And he is out as far as interim. We'll get to that as well at Baylor, but he's no longer a part of the College Football Playoff Committee. We'll tell you who replaces him in a second. Here are some of the details, and Ross Dellinger taking a leave of absence for personal reasons, and the school confirming that Rhoades initiated the leave, which started yesterday. Also, how this impacts his college football selection committee. He's gone. He's no longer a part of the college football selection committee. Also, they were aware, Baylor, of allegations involving him during the investigation of what happened with Michael Trigg and Jared Anderson the weekend they played Arizona State. The allegations were initiated back in September, and now new allegations have come up as well, but they are not NCAA related. They are not Title IX related, and also anything else that would affect the university other than there's going to be a change.
Well, there's more to it than that as well. He has, according to, you have this one too, Brandon, new
Yes.
allegations are surfacing regarding Baylor AD Mack Rhoades related to a violation of the faith-based university's policies and practices, which is honor code stuff, I guess. Baylor's declining comment as this involves a personnel matter and an ongoing investigation. So I don't know where that sends this as it goes to Title IX as well, but initially it was not that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the clear part of the reporting there from Ross is it wasn't Title IX related. It had nothing to do with the Michael Trigg incident, that he was already under investigation for that, but this is something they also became aware of, is I think what you're trying to get at there and what Ross was reporting. And so, yeah, this is a separate deal from what was the deal a week ago. So it's just compounded into now multiple things, and I'm not surprised the school's not going to decline, or I'm not surprised the school's not going to comment much further. They did release a statement, and they talked about how more than a month ago they received reports of an incident involving Mack. They were thoroughly reviewed, investigated in accordance with policies, appropriate actions were taken, and the matter is now closed. And Rhoades expressed regret over his emotions and recognized his conduct at the moment. That was all the Michael Trigg thing. So now you've got this on top of that, and I know Baylor released another statement, and there's just so much now that's like pouring out. It's kind of hard to keep track of like what's in what bucket and what's in this bucket and what's in the same bucket. But ultimately, the outcome is the outcome, and he is taking a leave of absence from Baylor. I don't know how he comes back from this, and I don't know how Baylor can allow him to come back from it, honestly, but I know they'll cross that bridge when they get there. But yeah, the CFP, not just on the committee, guys, he's the chairman. He's the guy that's on there on Tuesdays talking to the country. Yeah. And now he is being replaced, as we'll get to the replacements for not only that spot, but the Big 12 representative spot as well. So, yeah, a lot of investigating here lately for Baylor University, and go ahead and continue on with the news that keeps trickling in here.
And so, Jovan Overshone and also Cody Hall, co-interim ADs, as Mack is on leave of absence. Jovan has been a part of the athletic department for quite some time, Cody Hall as well. So those will be the co-interim ADs to handle business within the athletic department, along with the rest of the staff, while they do not have Mack Rhoades around and may not in the future. Now, what happens if this continues and he's no longer the AD at all? Then, of course, that's up to Dr. Livingstone and many others to make that decision on a search for a new athletic director.
Yeah, that's all part of this, is that, look, if there's, now multiple investigations into Mack Rhoades, I would say that the winds are towards that he will not be the athletic director at Baylor moving forward once he gets through all of this. And I don't know if this is just a small part of it, but like when I heard all this today, I started thinking back over the last few years because, and I can't speak to it because I've not gone through it personally, but I know plenty of people who have. When you have problems like this is not just something that pops up in 3 months. It's usually something that goes over time. And there have been things I've noticed about the job that he did before that I thought were slipping, and this has kind of informed that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know exactly what it is. You're kind of inferring some things, but yeah, I mean,
that something's maybe been going on for a long time, whether it's this or something else, but like Mack's been going through it, and it's maybe been affecting his work.
Yeah, I mean, there's been lots of comments about his appearance, for one. He's very disheveled. Things around football are not where they were expected to be or supposed to be. The standard is not being met. You can argue, you look around at basically all the athletics right now, and none of them are really where they were about 2 years ago. You can point to, well, you don't have Kim Mulkey anymore, or you don't have Terrell Bernard and Jalen Petrie, or you can point to whatever. But as a whole, it does feel like this athletic department has been sliding backwards, not charging forwards like it was in 2021. So, yes, there are clearly things going on in his personal life, and not just maybe one thing, but maybe multiple things. And, you got skeletons in your closet. It doesn't matter if it doesn't happen immediately. Eventually, those are going to come out. It may take a year. It may take 30 years, but eventually they will find their way out there. And so I don't know exactly what those are at this point. We can all speculate. I'm going to not do that until we have reason to go in a certain direction. But I think you can kind of read between the lines when they talk about this does not involve Title IX. This does not involve NCAA rules. This does not involve student welfare, which also does not involve Michael Trigg in that incident. So, okay, narrow it down. I mean, those are some big boxes that you just scratch out that you go, oh, or they were cheating or this. Like, no, it's nothing involving like NCAA stuff or anything like that. So, yeah, this is a bad look for him. I think there was, talk a couple days ago when we were speaking about this story I said that he needs to watch his back, because the way that Outkick report came out last Friday, it very much felt like a call coming from inside the house because of the timing of it being, 2 months after the Arizona State game, practically? And that just now started to come out that there was an incident of some sort. So that just caught me off guard of man, that couldn't have been just that wasn't just Michael Trick's dad suddenly deciding out of nowhere to make this call to Outkick. And I don't know if that's the outlet he would go to or not, but maybe this is some other player's parent. No, why wouldn't they have done that earlier? So it never added up to me. So I said straight up on the show, I think that Mack better watch his back. And it turns out I was wrong. He needed to look in the mirror, apparently. And so he's getting an opportunity to do that right now, but he has put Baylor in a pickle, and it's a real shame because he's a guy who built up a lot of goodwill for how he handled their transition from the old era and that scandal to getting to where Dave Aranda's winning a Big 12 title after Matt Rhule kind of comes and digs them out of this massive hole to some degree. And then you have Scott Drew winning a men's national championship in basketball. And they were a hot program, now 4 years ago. And they haven't really been a hot program in 3 or 4 years at this point. So, yeah, man, there's just a lot going on, a lot to digest here, and I just could not help, and I'm sure plenty of other people have already put this out there. I've been running errands and haven't had time to really look at social media outside of just checking in periodically on these reports, but immediately, I don't know about y'all, but my mind went to that meme of it's been 0 days since the latest Baylor scandal of some sort. That's exactly what popped in my head because it does feel like it is always something with that university.
Yeah, and you're right about all of what you were saying about where the athletic programs were. The national title was 5 years ago. Randa 12-2 was 4 years ago. And then there also have been things in which he's been fighting for the Big 12 and for Baylor. But there's a lot of people who haven't been real happy with where the direction is in many ways, even decisions made by the athletic department outside of wins and losses. And when you don't get enough of those and then people aren't happy with other things you do, you start to lose what you had around you as far as support.
Yeah.
And so, by the way, so Jovan and Cody Hall will take over as interim. I did a little bit of asking, and no one has any idea. Let's be honest. There's a couple of guys that if, in fact, they were to move on and not hire internally, Jeremiah Dickey's name at least will be a part of the conversation. And I'm not trying to stir up it for Boise State, and Ren Baker at West Virginia, who worked under Mack at Missouri before he went to North Texas and eventually at West Virginia.
I mean, like, if you're going to just go off of his tree, you can throw Jared Mosley at North Texas.
Jared Mosley at North Texas.
And North Texas in there as well.
Or do you do the whole, like, we don't want the guy branching off the guy we just had type of a thing?
Yeah,
no, that's
a
possibility.
Jeremiah is a guy who knows the school already, and that would perhaps be tempting for him. I mean, anything's up at this point. But, guys, I do think we're going to have to talk about a new athletic director. And I think subsequently we're going to be talking probably then about a new football coach. And, I mean, I'm not reporting that. I'm just going off the vibes. And I feel like this is just an embarrassment. I mean, he really ruined a lot of the public perception because let's also not forget that he was part of helping them recover from what was a horrific scandal there that was like nationwide news. Like ESPN was popped up on campus for months at a time. Like they've never covered a story like that since then. I mean, it was literally like 24/7 coverage.
They didn't cover Larry Nassar that
No,
much.
they didn't. Like they had coverage of that, to be fair, but not to that degree where it was so long every single day, all the time. Now, there also wasn't just drip, 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 drip of news like there was with Baylor, where every time you thought it started to like finally quiet a little bit, like, oh, here's something brand new. It's a new lawsuit. It's a new accusation. And that's what really kept that thing humming as far as the news cycle goes. But in addition to that, and the success they were having, he was also a guy very pivotal in the realignment puzzle and a guy who was a shoulder for your Mark to lean on early on, as Brett said to us on this show, right? That, I mean, I know the other athletic directors were close or are close and have been of help as well. But we've talked to Brett specifically about, you know, him and Mack Rhoades having a good relationship and Mack being very helpful, especially as he first came on board and they were trying to navigate OU and Texas bolting as
summer after summer after summer.
Yeah. So, you know, they had the transition from Bowlesby, and then when Brett took over, then Mack was one of those guys that helped early on. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what he had. And now when you Google the name, and hopefully this is a warning to people out there, but when you Google the name now, all that good stuff's going to be page 4 and 5 and 6 as far as recent results go. And so you make your own bed, and I don't know exact details. I mean, I think we have kind of a loose idea we can speculate on of what he might have been up to or what the issues were. But I will say again that it felt like he was having somebody go behind his back last week with that report. But now you see, like, well, there was more reason than maybe we realized to why somebody would want to go and do that, because the issues were bigger than just the Michael Trigg incident on the sideline.
When you have something that goes in your life that goes wrong, and you will learn this, and sometimes you wish you'd learn it better, but what you do is that when they start to get the forensics and start looking around, they're going to find more. If you've done one thing, then you probably have done some other things too. Now, what does this mean for the College Football Playoff Committee? And again, we understand what it also means for Baylor without their AD right now. And the fact that there could be the possibility of a coaching change in football. And how does that affect someone coming in if there is an AD change? Do you come in and not know who it's going to be? Do you wait until you hire somebody? If there's a change, that affects that too. But let's do the college football playoff first.
And I want to talk about exactly what you just talked about. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's why I brought it up. So what they've done, Kevin Harlan from Utah has been approved. The Big 12 said, okay, Mack is out. We're going to bring one of our own, Kevin Harlan from Utah. He has now been an addition to the selection committee. And Hunter Yurachek is now the new chair, Arkansas's director of athletics. That's Ross Dellinger with the report for Yahoo Sports.
Yeah, I don't think that, I mean, it's not going to change everything. And look, if you wonder, like, does this change biases or opinions on things, watch our Dave Bartu segment from yesterday.
Oh, but it's not going to stop people from thinking that, especially an SEC guy chairing the committee now.
One of the things that I was really disappointed in, but I wasn't surprised, was to see a bunch of A&M accounts saying, like, oh, good, the anti-A&M guy,
right,
the biggest A&M hater is off the committee. Great news for the Aggies.
If they only knew, dude, but whatever. If you're not going to convince people that are already convinced that they know everything.
Now, I still haven't changed my mind about 2023, that there was some shenanigans there, but still, but when it comes to this story, into Mack and what that means for the committee. I don't think it really means that much other than you're going to see Hunter Yurachek.
Yeah, he'll be the one answering questions.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to change. Like, all of a sudden, you're not going to see Indiana drop to 5th, out of the blue.
I mean, well, if you do, then that'll certainly be a story and would be quite notable. And I'd imagine A&M fans would suddenly love Hunter Yurachek and think that he was the greatest. But that would also show some way more extreme bias than anything Mack Rhoades said. And again, I'll not delve into that, but I mean, really getting personal over being number 3 versus number 2 with 3 weeks to play, I think is a bit ridiculous, but that's what social media and stuff is for, I suppose. So, I mean, Hunter Yurachek will get the main spot now, and I think that will lead to some people, if the SEC gets 5 teams in, feeling like there was some bias there, but that's gonna be the case regardless of who and where they come from, because people are not gonna be satisfied regardless. But I think Mark Harlan's an interesting choice. I don't know what it came down to with these two that they were chosen. I'm not sure what went into the thought process there. I saw Utah fans even sort of surprised that Mark Harlan was the guy, but
he was on the committee in 23.
Okay, well, that
so
makes
he's got
sense.
At least an experience there.
Well, especially when you're starting a couple weeks in, that probably makes sense to have somebody with some experience rather than somebody because you have to go through all of that off-season run through and the practice of working with the committee. So it would make sense to have somebody who's already been there and done that.
And then with Yurachek, he is, of course, at Arkansas. He now becomes the spokesperson. And I'm not so sure when Mack Rhoades left Houston, I was trying to look this up, I'm not so sure he wasn't the one that replaced Rhoades at Houston. I know Pesman was there, and now, of course, Nunez is at the University of Houston. All right, so it's been quite the day. No question about it. I know this, that you have to move on. It's not like Mack Rhoades died. But when it comes to him being the director of athletics for right now, I don't think he's going to be making any decisions again, if at least for a long time. Baylor's got to move on. You wonder how they're going to do this, but let's go back to what I mentioned before we mentioned who's going to be now a part of the committee and also the new chairperson. How does this affect a football coach whose name, Dave Aranda, Mack extended him even after a terrible year a couple of years ago? How does this affect his job? How does this affect how Baylor looks at either replacing him or moving on? And if you have somebody you want to hire, will you have an AD hired in time to be a part of that?
Yeah, the timeline, he really screws them kind of on that, being November 13th already, and they have just, 3 weeks until the season's over with, and they have to win another game, which I think they'll probably be dogs in all 3 of their games remaining. You're not going to be favored against Utah at home. So that one, you're not banking on being win number 6. You go play Arizona on the road. I mean, that's a total toss-up. And then you have Houston at home. Well, Houston beat them in Waco just, 2 or 3 seasons ago when Houston was a far worse team than they are now.
Their first year here.
Yeah, the very first year in the Big 12. A bad Houston team rolled in and beat Baylor at the end of the game. So that's not a guarantee ever, much less now when Houston's a much better team than they were back then, and Baylor is arguably right where they were or maybe slightly worse. I'm not quite sure, but maybe they're better. I've kind of blanked out on that, on that at this point, exactly where they were. I just know that was a demoralizing loss at the time, and it's one that says, hey, Houston can come in here and win no matter what. But, I mean, that timeline, I don't know exactly how that works. I would imagine it is feverish over in the offices that make those types of calls right now. Because they've got to figure that out now. And I don't see a scenario, guys, where you can bring him back as athletic director. I'm sorry. I think if I'm reading the tea leaves properly and thinking it is what it is and you're violating the honor code, so to speak, I think that even if he's remorseful and if it's necessary to go to some rehabilitation of some sort, whether that's personal substance or whatever the case may be, I think that's something that he needs to worry about, not rushing back to hire a head football coach or make the call on keeping the football coach. I think this is the time, if there ever was a time, if there was a saving grace here, I think this gives you a clean break to start a new chapter. If you're trying to look at it from the most optimistic way possible from a Baylor fan perspective, I think this gives you the green light to go, you know what? We've kind of been riding this. I think this is the sign that we got to go ahead and make a right turn and go a different direction. And I think what boils down to not only him needing to take time for himself and not rush back for this, but you've left a stain now on a school that's dealt with plenty of things in the past far worse than this, but you went from goodwill to now putting them in a spotlight of harsh negativity and just putting a bad look on the school once again, and I don't think you can come back from that.
Here's the thing. Let's be honest. He has a legacy, and now it's changed because of the recent events. Paul, the Baylor fan base has PTSD, and I'm not using that term lightly, but they have, every time they kind of get themselves, and I'm not talking about like we say with A&M football fans, like waiting for the next, they have to be furious because here they go again. And I'm not forgetting that. Well, yeah, we're talking Mack Rhoades and but they have to go through this yet again. And you just got to go, my God, how much can you take? Because they've been incredibly resilient. And yet again, here it is.
It's that meme of flip the calendar back to 0. It's been 0 days since the last weird Baylor story. And it was a thing where it was like almost weekly there for a stretch in 2016, 17, 18. And then, it kind of was quiet there for a while. And now the calendar's back to 0 again. And yeah, like, I don't know. I can't speak to it. I'm not one of them, so to speak, but I've had a very close personal up front row type of a view for a long while. I know many people, and I think they're all embarrassed again, and it's not any of their faults. They're just fans who just keep getting kicked in the every few years. And what really makes this even worse in some ways, this is nothing compared to 16, 17, 18 and that whole Art Briles situation. Like I would do this every single day and have this conversation rather than all of the stuff and news and things that were going on back then. So, there is apples and oranges there, but this is still not a good look. And yeah, it's just embarrassing. Like you've developed a reputation for screwing up and for just, making the dumbest mistakes that put you in a bad spotlight time and time again. And I mean, to extremes, and we're not going to rehash that. There's no need to. People know, but this is light compared to some of them, but it's another thing again. And it's just like, what the hell, man? Can y'all just be, it's like, what is that movie? It's like, can you just be normal? Yeah. Like, I forget what that scene's from, like Little Miss Sunshine or something, maybe. I don't know, but it's like, can you just be normal? The mom screaming at her kids in the back seat.
There's that, and then I always think of As Good as It Gets, like where Helen Hunt's like, can I just have a normal boyfriend?
Yeah, like, can we just chill out and be normal for a little while? And it seems like the answer's no for some reason.
And look, when it comes to hiring, they have to make a decision on football. There's two trains of thought there. One would say that, it's not going to happen this year because of this tumultuous situation. Well, not having an athletic director in place hasn't stopped a lot of places from changing football coaches. That's a determination that Linda Livingstone and the board now have to make now that Mack is out of the picture. And so that's a different thing. And when it comes to moving on from Mack, Smoak, I think we and I talked earlier, at one point, sometimes when you have these problems, it's because you became your job. And you shouldn't do that to yourself. But it's happened to almost literally all of us in some extreme or another. And it doesn't matter, whatever Mack wants as far as career going forward, none of that matters until whatever's going on with him personally now is fixed. It doesn't matter. He owes it to himself, his family, and everybody around him, his friends, to get better, and then he can think about how can I be a professional again. And I dearly hope that for him and for anybody who goes through these things. But when it comes to Baylor and just you have to separate the emotion from the fact of the case. And the fact of the case is right now he's created a void. You have to fill it because the rest of the athletics world does not care, and they're not going to wait for you.
Yeah, and here's something what you were saying, Craig, as well, about the opportunities where he was as the face of the College Football Playoff Committee. I put this up. I said, Mack loves Baylor, prestigious role with the College Football Playoff, but time needed now perhaps to decompress. And then somebody responded, and I didn't mean that to, support him or anything, just other than he needs to get away. And the guy goes, and this is, again, Twitter, but tell me about another executive position where the time to decompress is when they have their best opportunity to impact more than their employer but their business market with him being the face of the college football playoff.
Yeah, I mean, I wish him well, but I mean, he screwed up, and there's no trying to spitball this or sunshine pump this or spin this, I think is what I was trying to say initially, to anything that it isn't. He screwed up. He screwed up a massive opportunity, not just in one way, but in multiple ways. He will never be on the college football playoff committee again. He might not ever be an athletic director again, and I don't think he's going to be an athletic director at this level anytime soon, if ever. So that's the least of the concerns. I don't know how his family, guys, is affected by this. The secondhand embarrassment that they're feeling from this that they will never be able to shake, because now anytime they Google their name, this is going to pop up for the rest of their lives. His wife, his kids, his in-laws, whoever, like that's the people that are probably hurting the most right now. And so I do wish them the best, because that's hard to have to deal with, especially when it's not anything of your own making. And to what degree maybe that's also part of this, I don't know, and I won't speculate any further, but certainly if he's having personal issues, that's going to have some effect on his personal life. And so I think the last thing he or you or anybody else needs to worry about is anything but him just getting better. And I think for Baylor, to answer kind of the beginning of this, I think it's time to make wholesale changes. Dave Aranda's going to have an opportunity to go beat Utah this weekend, and then whatever else happens. But they need to start the list now. They need to figure out, okay, if we have to make an AD hire, how quickly can we do that and feel good about it? Not a rushed hire, but like an actual real deal process. And how quickly can that person, if need be, hire a football coach as well? I think that you've got to at least have those plans in place, even if Dave Aranda goes and wins 3 games to end the year. Anytime there's an athletic director change, it doesn't matter who you are or how successful you've been. That has an effect. Look at Kim Mulkey. She's successful as all hell. Mack Rhoades said, see, she's probably celebrating more than anybody did, I'd imagine.
Well,
actually.
she needed to after Woodward got fired.
Well, yeah. But, that's the thing. Anytime there's an AD change, my point really was that it doesn't matter how successful or how long the other coach has been there. AD's like their own people, and there's almost always changes that occur with that anyway. So, change is in store in a major way for Baylor University.
No different than a new general manager at a business who then wants the people he or she trusts the most around them. There will be change. We're now joined by Sam Kahn, theathletic.com. And Sam, obviously, I was going to ask you about some of what you've been doing, that pretty cool series about general managers, et cetera. But obviously, the breaking news from earlier today, we knew about the incident. You wrote about it as well with Mack and Michael Trigg and Jared Anderson and company. And then this today is there. And whatever happens with Mack in the future, this is a very bad day for Mack Rhoades, and yet another one for Baylor University.
Yeah, definitely was surprised by this news today. After the weekend had gone by and we didn't really hear much else after the Michael Trigg incident that you guys know or well aware of. I know I've discussed at length. It felt like that maybe things had blown over and that everybody was going to move forward. And certainly Trigg's father, who talked to us, said that they were ready to move forward. But clearly there's something else there, as the school has said, that this is not tied to that, and this is not tied to NCAA violations. It's not tied to Title IX or anything, but clearly something is amiss here with Mack Rhoades, and not obviously really bad timing, number one, because he's the College Football Playoff Selection Committee chair. So it's bigger than just Baylor at this point because it affects the playoff and the committee. So it becomes a national story. But then also from a Baylor standpoint, it's a really tough day for the university because you got a football program that has obviously been a little bit spinning its wheels the last few years, and trying to get that back going. And we're still, I guess, trying to suss out what the future is for Dave Aranda and that staff, and for Mack Rhoades, who's been a really long tenured administrator and really done it at a high level in college athletics, being an AD at Akron, at Houston, at Missouri, and at Baylor now. And I think safe to say one of the more respected ADs in the country, definitely one of the most respected in the Big 12. His voice and opinion carried a lot of weight in that conference when they were in conference meetings with athletic directors and presidents and chancellors and Commissioner Brett Yormark. So definitely a bad day for the university all around, tough day for Mack Rhoades, and whatever's going on with Mack, I hope it gets rectified. But yeah, it's not a great situation.
Sam, would you lean towards this is bad for Dave Aranda or good for Dave Aranda or indifferent?
It's so hard to say because the question is will Baylor still make a move if Mack is not in the chair? And clearly, I mean, we're only a few weeks away from the end of the season. And so you don't imagine that he's going to be back in time to make an end of season decision on Dave Aranda. And we know that he's already had to do this after the 2023 season when they went 3-9 and Dave went into his office and the day of the West Virginia game and pitched to keep his job. And then ultimately they ended up selling Mack and school leadership on keeping him. But that's the big question to me is how does this impact Dave Aranda and the football program's future? And if the school does decide to move, who leads the search? Is it the co-interim ADs at this moment? Is it higher than that? Is it presidential? I assume they're going to use the search firm to some degree. Who are they going to lean on? Because the person that you depend on in that situation, typically the person who has the short list is the AD, who's not in the chair right now. So I don't know if it's good or bad. I will tell you what is good and what is bad for Dave Aranda. What is good is winning football games. What is bad is not winning football games. And how he finishes this season, I think, is going to matter. But to some degree, and you guys know this better than I do because you guys are there on the ground in Waco and you know the pulse of this fan base. I get the sense that the fan base is not in great shape in terms of wanting to bring him back. But I mean, that could just be your online fans. I don't know. I don't know how the high level donors feel about it, but they've got to finish really, really strong, I think, for him to have a shot to stay here for another year.
I agree with you on the fan base. And we mentioned that there is such a massive disconnect, even if things had stayed the way they are.
Apathy is what their problem is. Right now.
In many ways. And I don't know how that's ever going to be fixed, whether it's a new AD or if a football coach or if they win or not. There's just a huge disconnect. And it's throughout the athletic department and also the fan base. So it's more than just Mack Rhoades or whoever is the AD. Craig, you want to thank you, Sam, for waiting, by the way, because obviously we had to get through quite a bit of that. Craig, you want to get to Sam with something else? We'll start talking about the week of college football.
Sam, why is Indiana ahead of Texas A&M?
Well, Mac had some explanations for that the other day. No,
yeah, right.
Yeah, it's here's what I'm gonna. I'm not gonna be like super hot takey on this. I don't think it matters that much. To be quite honest with you, like it really doesn't. Like, I guess it matters if you're going to get a top 4 seed, but we're talking about 2 teams who are in position to get a first round bye. So does it really matter? I guess in the way that it matters is who do you play in the first round and who do you see in the next bracket? That's where it matters. But does it really make a difference if Indiana's ahead of Texas A&M and one's 2 and one's 3? I don't think it makes that big of a difference. I think they're both really good teams. I can see the case for A&M. I can see the case for Indiana. If you told me if they played today who I think the better team would be or who would win head to head, I'd put my money on A&M. I just think they're a little bit more explosive offensively. So that's who I would. I think maybe the level of athlete across the board just a little bit higher. Not to disparage Indiana. I think Indiana's got a tremendous team, and you've seen what they've done. But I think A&M would be the favorite if they were to meet on a neutral field today. But that's not how the committee makes their decision. The committee makes their decision based on what has happened and what we have seen, not, hey, these 2 teams meet on neutral field. That's like Lane Kiffin made that argument the other day of we should have Vegas do this and all this. That's not how it's done.
No.
If we were doing that, we wouldn't even play the damn games. Like you grade on what you have seen and what we have seen and what their resume is and how good they look. That's how we're grading it. We're not predicting what's going to happen if they meet.
Hey, man, if it's up to some people in the media, they would use blue chip ratio, apparently, to decide spots in the college football playoff rankings. So, yeah, it's just, everybody's got an opinion. I'm with you, though. I don't think it's that big of a deal, and it's going to work itself out because A&M's either going to win out or they're not, and Indiana's either going to win out or they're not. And if they do or they don't, then we'll have that to take. But I get it because I think this is still so new for Indiana and so exciting. And I remember what it's like when your team's involved in this and, like, you are upset about one spot because it could be the difference in playing this team or that team. And for A&M, I mean, they've been kind of loose, but this is as much as involved as they've been in the heat of the playoff and feeling this good about things as they've ever been. So I can understand the spirit behind it to some degree, but it does feel a little premature at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if they win, take care of their business, then it's not going to really matter. Like, If they go 12-0, and I know that people are going to be critical about their schedule because they played most of the bottom half SEC teams and they've caught some breaks, but if they go 12-0, like 12-0 is 12-0, boss. Like that's probably a top 2 team if you finish 12-0. But even if it's not, if all 3 of those teams end up, well, I guess they can't end up undefeated because Indiana and Ohio State would play in the Big Ten championship. So yeah, if they end up undefeated, they'll end up number 2 at the very minimum. So I don't think you can quibble with that. Like the fact that A&M is going to get into the college football playoff, which pretty much seems like a lock at this point, that's a hell of an accomplishment for them, regardless of their schedule, regardless of what anybody wants to say about them. It's a really good team defensively, a really good explosive team offensively. And the one thing that I've been impressed by the most is the issues that we saw that ailed that team last year. They fixed them. Mike Elko saw, and Derek Miller, his GM, saw, hey, we don't have receivers that can get open. Let's go get, and not only did they get receivers, they got some damn good ones with Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion. Some of the other guys, younger guys, to develop, like Ashton Bethel Roman, Terry Busty has come along, and Marcel Reed has developed in a really big way. Like you can see how many steps he's taken in terms of mastering that offense and progressing as an overall player. And buddy, this team to me is one of the most complete teams in the country.
Sam, I think that Mike Elko can be a kind of a beacon for a lot of coaches that he didn't sit there and go like, oh, we like our guys, we want them to develop, like, you know, we've seen this, or like, no, like, you know, everything's fine. It was just the scheme we weren't doing right. Like it's what he did at Duke when he got there. It's how he approached the A&M defense when he first got there. I'm sure he did it at Notre Dame, you know, everywhere else he's been, where he just takes a frank look at everything and says, okay, where are the potholes in this road? And we're going to fill those things, and we're going to fill them as fast as we can. Mm-hmm. I think not realistically looking at who your roster is why James Franklin is fired right now.
Yeah, so every coach is different. Some coaches take the approach of, I get a job, let's rip it all down to the studs and let's rebuild, and we're going to suck for a little while. Mike Elko didn't take that approach. He's like, hey, they hired me because they just fired a guy and gave him $75+ million to walk, so they want results right away. And he knew that. And they decided, there was a decent amount of talent on the roster, not as much as we thought. When you talk about that 2022 recruiting class, I think only 6 of those guys are still on the roster out of 30 that signed. So the cupboard was not as full as you think, but there still were good players, as we see. Marshall Reed is one of those guys. DJ Hicks, the defensive lineman, is one of those guys. There's a lot of players still. Le'Veon Moss is one of those guys. There's a lot of the guys in this roster that were there. So he had a good, solid baseline of talent to start from. And then it was just a matter of plugging the holes. But the thing that he brought, and we talked about this a lot last year, the thing that he brought that they were missing as a program was discipline and organization. He brought in some type of accountability to players that if you show up late for a meeting, you're not going to be allowed in the meeting and you're going to have consequences. That wasn't going on there before he got there. There was a lot of guys just being able to do whatever they wanted to do. And if you were a big time player, you still got to play on Saturday. And Mike put a stop to that really quickly. So that got everybody on the same page from a player personnel standpoint. And then it was a matter of just upgrading the talent. They had a really good season last year, but then they faltered down the stretch. And then you figured out where your issues were. They, of course, made the shrewd change, or he made the shrewd change to go ahead and take over defensive play calling, which I think was really smart because he's really good at it. And then you just build from there. And they had a very good strategy in the portal. They didn't overdo it. They didn't go get 20 guys in the portal. They got like a dozen. And they made sure they were impact guys. And, oh, by the way, the guys they got in the first portal cycle, about 9 of those guys are still on the roster. They got a lot of multi-year guys that were not one and out. They were not one and done types. They were, hey, we're going to come here. Like Des Ricks is a perfect example of one of those guys. Marcus Radcliffe is a perfect example of one of those guys who came in and made Cassius Howe, one of the sack leader on the team, one of the best defensive ends in the country. He was not a starter last year. He was a rotational player, maybe a spot starter, or played a role, but he was not a play 60 snaps a game guy. But he was a guy they took from Bowling Green, someone they had familiarity with, and he kind of sits there and develops, decides to come back for another year, and now he's taken off. And that type of approach to the roster really helped. And when you combine that with the discipline, the organization, the accountability that they have brought, and what they have on their staff, I think they have a really good staff. You have what you have, and you have one of the best teams in the country.
Dan, one more thing on the Big 12. Obviously, the huge weekend in Lubbock with Tech and BYU, and Tech flexed their muscles again, and they did it in a way we have rarely ever seen. But we've known the defense was at a very high level, and they were able to kind of just swallow up BYU, and they just look good, and they have a lot of momentum. There's UCF next year. Thoughts about just the entire weekend for Texas Tech and Lubbock?
Yeah, a big moment for them, obviously. That was kind of the prove it game in some ways because, if they don't win that, then their Big 12 title game hopes are kind of become murky at that point. And then you start asking, wow, you spent all this money and you still didn't make the Big 12 title game. But now, and not to overlook UCF or West Virginia, they still got to win those games and they still got to avoid the letdown there. But if you go look at their schedule and what they have done in the Big 12, when they've had a healthy starting quarterback, a healthy Baron Morton, they have beaten every one of those Big 12 teams by 20 plus. And that's pretty impressive. That's domination of the conference. And the plan paid off. The strategy paid off. People want to say they overpaid and they did all this. And well, why'd you give David Bailey $2 million? And why'd you spend $7 million on a defensive line? Well, guess what? This is why you did it. So you could put yourself in this position because there are not really offensive lines in this conference that are equipped to handle that on a consistent basis. And so they have done it. It has worked out. They've got to try to limp to the finish and keep Baron Morton as healthy as they can with his hairline fracture or whatever he's got going on. But regardless of, to me, regardless of what happens from this point, I think it was worth it. I think it was a success. I think it was worth it. You put yourself in the position to do something that you've never done. Whatever happens from here, like if Baron Morton gets hurt and they don't make it, I mean, it stinks. But I mean, how can you be critical of that? It's kind of a hard situation when you lose two quarterbacks. So I think what they tried to do and what they set out to do, they did. Now it's just a matter of can they finish it.
Go ahead, Craig.
So 2 mega showdowns this week in the SEC, Sam, and teams that we all follow very closely. If you were to pick where the upset happens, if there were to only be one upset, does it happen with Oklahoma in Tuscaloosa or does it happen with Texas in Athens?
I would pick Texas and Athens just because John Mateer hasn't really gotten all the way back, in my opinion, since he's got that hand surgery, hasn't quite been himself. And Alabama, I just think, is more talented overall than that team. Georgia and Texas, from a talent standpoint, I think they're much more even. And Texas, even though they have not played to the level for most of the season, Sam Houston and Vanderbilt were really the only games that I thought that they played to their full potential or close to it. They still have the talent level that I think they can go in there and get an upset. And Georgia has been not a typical Georgia defense where they have shut you down and shut you out and really, they still got really good players and they're still really physical and they've got a really good quarterback. I think Hunter Stockton's really good. And I think offensively they've been much more dynamic than they have been in the past. But if I were to take one out of those two, I would take Texas. I think that one's going to be much tighter than the Alabama-Oklahoma game.
How many fake Yinzers, Pitt fans, will there be this weekend to take Notre Dame out?
Isn't there always a fan base or a pocket of college football fandom that is rooting against Notre Dame regardless who the opponent is?
Yeah. This week I think there's going to be a lot of people that are Pitt fans and love Pat Narduzzi and hope Desmond Reed plays and all those things, because there are, I think, other than, I think issue A with angry college fan bases was A&M, like we talked about, somehow feeling snubbed by being third, like they'd been there before. And then anybody who's mad that Notre Dame lost their two best opponents and is in the playoff right now.
Mario Cristobal and Brent Key are probably the biggest Pitt fans, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can we get a hail to Pitt in the postgame if that upset happens from one of those two guys? But yeah, no, I mean, Miami, I think, has a real case, a real argument, because they actually beat Notre Dame head-to-head. And I will say that I'm very fascinated by this trend that we've seen lately in the college football playoff rankings, that we just forget that the week one happened. It's as if that game didn't exist anymore. That's not to say that Notre Dame doesn't deserve credit, because I thought they did acquit themselves really well in that game. They had a freshman quarterback going on the road against that defensive line. That was a hard thing to ask, and I thought C.J. Carr did well. I think what really hurt them in that game was Mike Denbrock got away from the run game a little bit, and they called so many RPOs. I think C.J. probably wasn't handing the ball off enough to Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, and so that came back to bite him a little bit. And then the A&M game, I mean, that was just one of those games that goes the way it goes, but I understand why people think Notre Dame is a top 10 team, and I don't know that I necessarily want to argue with that, but the idea that you should be ranked lower because your loss is more recent. I mean, Miami lost at SMU on the road. SMU is not a bad football team. They're a pretty solid football team. The Louisville loss was bad. I know they had the 4 turnovers and Carson Beck threw the ball over a yard to the other team, but I just don't get why we feel like we just overlook what happened in week 1. The same thing to some degree happens with Alabama, who I do think, again, is one of the best teams in the country, but it's almost like the Florida State game didn't exist. Like we're talking about, hey, this could be the best team in the country. Like that game did happen. Like we should look at the whole body of work. So I understand why Miami would have a beef with their ranking as compared to Notre Dame, and why the ACC, they put out their little graphic, their blind resume, which I really appreciated, to compare the resumes. And so you can go at it as long as you want, but I thought it was astute, and I thought it was interesting, and I think Miami has a case.
Sam, great stuff as always. Thank you very much for being a part of the show today. Appreciate it. Sam Contime from theathletic.com with us on Thursdays. Max Olsson will join us in about 10 minutes or so. Alex Markham, he covers Utah. He says this today on Hunter Yurachek, and then, of course, also Mark Harlan at Utah, that you're sitting there thinking, if you're a BYU fan, because there's always the conspiracies. This is what he has to say. I like this. The fact that Utah AD Mark Harlan was on the committee back in 23 is a good thing for both the College Football Committee and the Big 12, since he has to get involved with the process having already begun. I don't know how I could be more clear to BYU fans than this is a positive as well for them.
Yeah, I don't think Mark Harlan is going to sit there and go, like, how can I screw BYU? I know that that's what they want to believe, and that's what a lot of people choose to believe because it fits their fan narrative, and you can't shake people from that, I've learned, and I just have stopped trying. That people love the bubble they create around themselves when it comes to stuff like that. Now, that's not to say there hasn't ever been a reason to feel that type of way, but it's very clear, because I asked the question myself, and I have no skin in the game for either BYU or Utah other than just talking about them on a regular basis and having great respect for both, is that he has the experience. Mack Rhoades, when he was going through the process of being put on the committee and eventually this chair, they have off-season meetings. They have regular meetings up in, Grapevine? Mm-hmm. Grapevine, where they meet all through the offseason and they learn the process and how it all works. And so he's done that. And you can't just grab somebody who's never done it before and just go like, all right, start. And they don't know what they're doing, because it's not just, oh, well, here's how I'd rank them. It's how they talk about it. It's how they go about voting on it. It's how they put it all together. And that's what you learn in that process. And I think, was it Heather Dinich, who's been like the playoff reporter now for a while? Like, I think her and others have done, like, we sit in and the whole, like, you can go read their stories on the process and how it all works and how the committee goes about putting it all together. And so, yeah, the fact that he has that experience, because I questioned it as well. But knowing that part of it goes, oh, light bulb goes off. Like, oh yeah, of course, he's done it before. So it's an easy guy to just slide in there and not really skip a beat. But I don't think it serves him well at all, other than to get like some fist bumps from Utah fans, because he's a guy who's, I don't even think, long for that world right now anyways. Most Utah fans think he's out of there soon. So I don't think it would serve him well to like screw the Big 12 and his university on the way out, if this is somewhat of an off-ramp for him, just to like stick it to the BYU fans out there. I think that's where you let too much of your fandom kind of cloud your judgment. I think also, like, they have to you kind of put that stuff aside, because you have to do the best job possible. Right. Or, you know what's going to, like, the thing is, what's going to happen is, okay, he may never be on the committee again because he's already run through a time, but when he wants to do something else, like he wants to be on this working group,
they're going to be like, oh, man, all that guy talked about was how much he wanted it. Like, he really made an effort to screw over one thing, and it was kind of –
Well, they're not going to allow him to do that.
Exactly.
Like,
so,
that won't be allowed.
But even, like, they wouldn't allow him, but, like, if he was going to even go in there with that mission, it would get snuffed out on the back end, too, where people would be like, yeah, I don't want to deal with this. He seems to have tunnel vision, which I don't think Mark Harlan does.
No, I don't think. I think he's a grown person, and look, obviously grown people make mistakes, as we spent the first half hour of this show talking about. But yeah, I don't think BYU fans have anything to worry about. The only thing I would worry about is just winning out and getting to the Big 12 championship game and beating Texas Tech or whoever could magically appear other than Texas Tech at this point. And then booking yourself to the playoff. That's how you ensure that Mark Harlan can't really screw you over. If you really do truly believe that, is go force your way into the playoff. And then, then you can complain about seeding or something like that. But, I think that's just a silly concern right now.
All right. It's been quite the hour. We have not said thank you to Brandon Rowe, who was doing things along with Garrett Ross right up until the start of the show to try to bring you all the information. And, of course, we'll do that continually as we get it and learn it. And then also Andrew Valade, who was running the mothership, putting together the final, well, not just the last segment with the quizzes and poll results and more, but also with the wheel and the topics that we'll discuss.
And our now prolific social media presence.
Yeah, when we come back, I think it is prolific. And when we come back, we'll hear from Max Olsson. I'm David Smoak with Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. We do appreciate you. This is 365 Sports. Baylor alumni Paul Thorpe and Doug First getting ready for the game this Saturday with all of what they do when it comes to promoting and being a part of wherever Baylor athletics might be. I have seen both of them on the road at NCAA tournament venues and at team hotels and also the Final Four or bowl games, all of the above. That's what they do wherever Baylor, and especially during the postseason, but also during the year, tailgating just outside of McLean Stadium with what they have with food and festivities and fun, and also giving you a place to hang around as you get ready for the kickoff and entering the stadium. The Baylor alumni, get on Facebook and ask for more if you want. You could follow Doug Firch and Paul Thorpe. If you, for example, are having a watch party this week and you're out of town or out of state to watch Baylor in Utah, and you have some Baylor fans and you have other, but you want to spread the word to others who live near you in Oklahoma City or maybe Birmingham, they can help you do that too, not only this week, but in the future. It's the Baylor Alumni Group with Doug Firch and Paul Thorpe.
Batteries Plus has teamed up with the Dallas Cowboys as the team's official battery recycling partner. Batteries Plus doesn't just sell batteries, they recycle them too. Customers can bring in all lithium batteries from power tools, power banks, and small electronics for a chance to win Cowboys tickets, a VIP experience, and more at qualifying locations. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
That's my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
Golfballs.com carries the latest selection of golf balls, clubs, and gear from brands such as Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway. Golfballs.com remains the world leader in golf customization. And, of course, online at golfballs.com.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at are your Google reviews. We have a better Net Promoter Score than H-E-B with a 65 and Ritz-Carlton Hotels with a 70. According to Net Promoter Score, if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is an 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com, ubeo.com.
You don't want to miss our best price deals during the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. This month, you can save big on the truck you've been looking for, like the new Rams. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel. with premium options like luxurious leather trim seating, surround view cameras, and more. Shop our great selection in-store or online today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin. And you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
It's football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game, poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
365 Sports will take you all the way through the afternoon, and eventually, of course, we'll have our college football picks. We did that yesterday. We'll do the Big 12 picks today and get into more of that. Max Olsson with us, ESPN. Yeah, Max, you know, normally we get into games, and we will, the stop rate, and we will. But obviously today, with Mack Rhoades, probably, perhaps no longer will be the AD at Baylor. Right now, interim, with Jovan and Cody, no longer a part of the playoff committee. What is your reaction to this part of the story involving Mack and Baylor?
Yeah, certainly surprising to hear this morning. And, you know, I've always had a good relationship with Mack, and, you know, certainly don't know all the details here, and what is being investigated right now. But, you know, certainly very surprising to hear. And, you know, pretty big ripple effects there, not just for, you know, not just for Baylor and Dave Aranda, but for the College Football Playoff Committee, and who's chairing that, and, you know, I believe Mark Harlan from Utah is going to take his place in the committee there. So pretty big turn of events that have a lot of impact there. And I certainly can't speak to all the details there, but was surprised to say the least.
Max, do you think that this is kind of an indication that Baylor needs to kind of move on completely, not only from Mack Rhoades, but maybe Dave Aranda as well, and kind of start anew, given the fact that this all intersects with the fact that fan apathy at Baylor has not been this high since maybe the pre-Guy Morris era? Yeah, I mean, that's just another, you know, that's another uncomfortable angle of this too, is just sort of like what's going to happen to Baylor football here as you look to 26. And, you know, I think that you know, how they finish this out will be fascinating to watch. And, you know, I think there's probably two sides to that, right? There's probably like what makes sense for Baylor. What can Baylor afford to do at the end of this year? Can they afford to make a change and try to compete for one of these guys that everybody else wants? And then on the other end of that, if you're Dave Aranda and you're going through this turmoil right now, like,
are you someone who is trying to go get the job at Stanford or UCLA or some of these jobs that are open right now? Like, do you kind of try to look for a way out here too? So yeah, I think certainly over the next month here, it'd be very interesting to see on both sides kind of like what they want to do here at the end of the year.
Max, you have your latest stop rate out, and Texas Tech at number 1, Ohio State. San Diego State's having a hell of a year. Toledo and then Utah rounding out the top 5. What did you make of Tech's big win over BYU? And just kind of when you go through these every week, what stands out to you from a national perspective as well in terms of the numbers you're seeing and the teams you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that really impressive. The Texas Tech performance against BYU really didn't feel like there was any moment in that game in which BYU's offense was going to get it going against that Texas Tech defense. And I think it was the 5th time this season that Texas Tech has shut out their opponent on offense through 3 quarters. So, I think that as much as we've talked about the defensive line and just how elite those guys are, Jacob Rodriguez, obviously Tech is trying to mount a Heisman campaign for him, but really Shield Wood deserves a ton of credit for, you can say, they spent all this money and they brought in all these players and really, fixed the defense in the portal. But what Shield Wood has been able to do for that defense in getting everyone to play at a really high level and all 11 playing together, that's hard to do. It's hard to put all the puzzle pieces together like they have and then be as effective as they have, every week pretty consistently in this conference. And so, it's an excellent defense in Lubbock. I think there's probably a strong case for Ohio State really having the best defense in college football. Texas ahead of them right now in stop rate. I think Ohio State has really not put much on tape this year to suggest that they're going to struggle in these big games. So I think that's another one, like another first-year DC and Matt Patricia. Obviously, he inherited a lot of talent, but remember, guys, they lost a lot to the NFL. And so I think they only had like 3 starters coming back. Obviously Caleb Downs is one of them, but that's a defense that it's been incredibly consistent and playing at as higher of a level than they did last year when they were number 1 in stop rate under Jim Knowles.
All right. There's a lot of attention and the story involving Jacob Rodriguez, his wife, and that should be the case. But if you had to vote, and I'm not talking Heisman because I know Rodriguez's name has come up there too, but who's more impactful on that defense, David Bailey or Jacob Rodriguez? And that's a positive thing because both could be true.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is like kind of the thing that hurts the Heisman campaign a tiny bit. Is I think when you watch Texas Tech and you watch them against BYU, David Bailey is leading the country in sacks. He's leading the country in edge pressures. The Stanford transfer has just been unbelievable. And he is certainly, I talked to a lot of people when I was putting together the piece last week on D-line, and I think people really do feel like he's solidly like a top 20 pick in this upcoming draft. And I think, one of our guys, Jordan Reed, has him, I think, going 13th in his most recent mock draft. So yeah, David Bailey is he's making a ton of money at Texas Tech. He's making over $3 million this year, but he's earned a lot of money too in terms of his draft stock with what he's done. And I think, another one is Lee Hunter. I think Lee Hunter doesn't get enough attention for being as dominant as he is up front. And you guys remember, when this Texas, when Baylor's D-line was elite, they've had these guys too with Bravion Roy, with Siaki Ika. Like, that guy in the middle doesn't get the glory. They don't get all the stats, but when you've got a difference maker there, it makes the linebacker's job so easy. And, Jacob Rodriguez having a historic year on defense, and has a chance to break the single season and career record for forced fumbles here this year. So he's having a crazy year, but there's a lot of guys that deserve the love there at Tech.
Max, Texas goes between the hedges this week, and they've not looked fantastic. Oklahoma looks like maybe they're starting to get it back. Do you think either one of these teams, even if they win this week, can still keep it going to make the playoffs after that? Because they both have tough games, even after Alabama and Georgia.
Do you guys think that if Texas can beat either A&M or Georgia, that Texas is in the playoff at 9-3?
If you ask me about 99% of other teams that might be in that same position, I would say that's still going to be incredibly hard. But yeah, you have to think that's a
I kind of think so. I think Texas could certainly finish 8-4. Don't get me wrong. But I think a 9-3 Texas that wins one of these two games is probably getting a spot in that playoff. And I think that, you'd have to, if they can win one of those two, I think people will be ranking them ahead of Notre Dame in those final rankings. So I think that Texas has an opportunity here. You could treat the Georgia game like a must win, I suppose, but I think they have to win one of these two. And, they're coming off a bye week. They have a chance to kind of put a plan together against Georgia, who looked really good last week against Mississippi State. But you got to remember too, like Texas had a big opportunity last year against Georgia in Austin, and that defense, what Glenn Schumann did to Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning, really kind of shell shocked that Texas offense. So I think that chess match of how Sark and his offense respond against Georgia's defense and all the different things that they're going to throw at Arch Manning, fascinated to watch that. I think Georgia will win, but I think that this is a big spot, big opportunity for Arch Manning and that team to show how far they've come. I just think Alabama is going to be really hard to beat this weekend. I really do. And it's a revenge game for them, obviously, after the way it went in Norman last year. But I think every week John Mateer is getting a little bit healthier, and I think that's a huge thing for the team, because when you watch Oklahoma, that defense is incredible, but the offense is it's the John Mateer show, and he has to generate everything. He's the point guard who has to create everything in that offense. And so, it's really on him to, until they find a consistent run game, it's on him to be healthy and to make everything happen. And I think that's a lot of pressure on a guy. But I think he's going to make it interesting.
Max, I say this somewhat tongue in cheek. Is there going to be a 2026 quarterback controversy in Lincoln, Nebraska?
No.
I got asked on a radio show this week about, like, can Nebraska, is it even possible Nebraska can have both on their roster next year? And I think that's always the challenge, right? As soon as a freshman blows up, it's like, okay, well, you're gonna have to pay up to keep him, and like, what's he willing to take? And there's always going to be one team out there that's willing to overpay and make him their guy. And I think that's going to be the really interesting situation here with, I think, 2 games left for Nebraska, Penn State and Iowa. Can TJ Lateef put enough on tape here these next few weeks that it's like, oh, now someone's coming in and making them $1 million offer, and now you kind of can't afford to have both there. It's going to be interesting to see. I certainly think Nebraska is committed to Dylan Raiola being their quarterback next year. I don't think anything is going to change there over the next few weeks. But this is an opportunity for TJ Lateef to go out and really make an impression on people. And, I think as these schools, yes, everybody's trying to, like, go over the cap and do whatever they want. But that is one of those situations that's going to be, like, kind of hard to manage here going forward, is like, we're already in kind of a time where it's hard to keep a great backup. And I think what TJ Lateef showed against UCLA, that might lead to people being like, hey, let's go get that guy.
I tell you what I noticed in that game, and I know that happens a lot of times because of where he was playing, just around his hometown of Compton in L.A., but
yeah,
that team seems to love him. There seems to be a tremendous amount of, like, the teammates love him. That doesn't mean they don't like Dylan Raiola, but they seem to be really, really entrenched with him.
Yeah, I think it's a great sign when a team, steps up around their freshman starter and it's just like, hey, we all got to be better to make things better for him. And, I think you certainly saw before the injury for Dylan Raiola that, like, Nebraska, the protection wasn't great, and that was putting Dylan Raiola in some tough spots in there and stuff like that. And I think the mobility of Lateef probably helps a little bit while their offensive line, goes through struggles and stuff like that. And so I think that element helps, I think, offensively. And then, I think there's another piece to that, and that's, it's not really getting much national attention, but around here, like, Nebraska is trying to make a Heisman push with Emmett Johnson too.
Go.
I mean, I think that he's leading the country in yards from scrimmage this year. I think he's over 1,400 now. He's been excellent. He was really, really good against UCLA. Had over 100 rushing, over 100 receiving. I don't know that he's a household name to a lot of people yet. But a guy who, certainly they might have a hard time bringing him back next year because he may be going pro off the year he's having. So having that guy to lean on, I think is going to give Nebraska a chance to win a few more games.
Max, if you were a candidate for the LSU job a week ago, and then you found out that when they fired Brian Kelly, they decided that they should have fired him for cause and then tried to say that he was, even though he wasn't, and did all this. Would that lower your maybe enthusiasm for that job?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of know you're jumping into the deep end there if you're taking that job. I think for me, it would just embolden me more to be like, no, I think you got to pay me like $13 million a year, right? To just sort of like put up with all the extra stuff.
Mack Olsson with us, 365 Sports. And by the way, I'm sending you a box of Emmett Johnson Heisman Trophy cards. And I need you don't need to distribute them where you are because they're excited about it.
Oh, you're leading the campaign? You're like the chairman of the campaign?
I can't. And I'm not sure you can either because we are both fortunate to have a vote for the Heisman, so we can't even discuss it. Right. I may have just crossed the line.
You may have. Yeah, you may have. I don't know that you and I can lead a Heisman campaign, but we can talk about him with enthusiasm. That's
we can. Absolutely, we can. Hey, man.
But do you guys, to that question though, do you guys think LSU is becoming like kind of a weird stay away situation if you're like Lane Kiffin or one of these really top candidates?
What do you guys think?
Man, I don't know. Like, if I'm Lane Kiffin, I'm just staying where I am and fleecing Ole Miss for as much money as I can
and just have them start building the statue this offseason.
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is at LSU, and it's going to be easier to do it there, or at Florida, they want him to be in the playoff tomorrow. And while he might be able to do that, he hasn't even done it at Ole Miss yet. So I would rather just keep building as opposed to where those two fan bases aren't going to realize that he's never been in the playoff, and maybe he is this year, but he hasn't done it that often, so it's no guarantee he's just going to roll into your town and make that happen. And then that comes with the, well, why are we paying this guy $13 million a year to come in and do this if he can't do it right away?
Yeah, for me,
I think. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, for me, I would not trade the job security and kind of the charm of doing your own thing where you are right now and with it going so well, as opposed to going to a blue blood where you kind of know if it's not working in 3 years, you're out of there. And he's already got so much in motion right now that I think he's in a good spot. But what I will say is no disrespect to LSU, but this whole thing from earlier this week, if I can't trust the contract that I sign, well, then if all things are equal between Florida and LSU, I'm taking the Florida job if I'm leaving Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think that when you look at Florida and Auburn, I think those are both situations where you're like, and even maybe Penn State too, where it's like, we're going to support you, but like, we know we have work to do. Like, we know this is not going to all happen tomorrow. I think LSU is a job where it's like, whoever gets this job, like, no, we expect to compete for SEC championships tomorrow. We expect to be in the playoff. Like, Brian Kelly did not, live up to the potential of this place. And, we trust you can flip it fast, and we expect to be playing at the highest level. And so I just think that's something that comes with that, right? And I think that's something that if you're Lane Kiffin, you take that job, they're going to expect you to win big, or they're going to fire you. And I think some coaches will be drawn to that of like, man, at LSU, you have a chance to win the national championship and maybe do it very quickly. And obviously that was the appeal for Brian Kelly of like, it's going to be easier to win a national championship at LSU than it is at Notre Dame. So I think LSU will make a big hire. But there's no question, like you are starting with day one expectations that are very different than if you go take Florida or Auburn or Penn State or these other premier jobs that are out there.
Max, thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate your time. Are you going to cover a game this week, or are you just going to watch a bunch of them at one time at home?
Watching as many as I can.
Yep, that's what we do. Thank you. Max Olsson.
Thanks, guys.
He's got the hookup, though, for the ESPN app.
Ah! Yeah, I do miss the multi-view. I told you guys that yesterday.
I am surprised, and it's gotten, I don't know if you guys have heard some of the things that came out, like Bob Iger, the president of Disney, like gave a little optimism today, but then like some internal memos come out, and like some of the people on the board are like, I'll see you at YouTube in hell.
Well, their stocks dropped nearly 10% today. Now, I don't get all caught up in that, but I happen to see that headline of like, and I think that's a total of like whatever fill in the blank billions of dollars. Now, I'm sure they'll make it billion. Up. Yeah, I'm sure they'll recoup that somehow, or Toy Story 17 will come out or something like that. Yeah. What's the new one? Is it 5 or 6?
I think it's 5.
5. Okay. Brandon knew that almost too quickly, actually.
Brandon.
But never mind. But yeah, no, they got the new Toy Story coming out, so that'll recoup something. But it's kind of a messy situation. And I'm just sitting there with the like built-in cable plan I had where I moved in, where I'm like, I'm good. I thought I was like outdated and I wasn't going to be like hip and on the streaming full board platforms like everybody else. I got my little Netflix and my Hulu and depending on what else is on other apps, but my basic cable is just fine, baby. Like it's
Do you have to reach over and go?
No,
like
I don't have to put rabbit ears in a certain place. I just, I watch the games.
I'm telling you, I love watching sports. I love watching, I love Netflix. I said that yesterday, but I find myself with and I've said this to you guys, I don't watch as much as I used to. And
well, you and Paul are the polar opposites. Paul watches as much TV as anybody that I know, and you watch as little as anybody I know. And I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I think.
No. What I do, let's say like tonight, I'll go home. I'll turn on. I got flat screens everywhere. I'm not bragging, but I do, and I'll turn them all on. They're there, and then sometimes something catches my attention, but there aren't many. Like I've got to be home at 6:30 to watch this.
See, that doesn't have to happen now anymore either because streaming's wonderful.
That's exactly right.
You can just watch it anytime. But I do understand. I watch a lot of television, and I there's some that I can't even get to now because I'm married. But
hey, timestamp.
Yeah.
Timestamp.
She knows. I get to it all eventually, but there was a point in my life where I thought that's what I was going to eventually do was work in that field. Like I wanted to be a guy that was in a writer's room and all these different things. And so when I was in my 20s and single and living alone, like I would watch television completely academically and enjoy it, but I would watch it. And I still kind of do that where I watch shows and I'm like, ooh, that's cool. I like that they did this. And I'll wind up, now that we do like a talk show, I'll watch talk shows that are not even sports related and look at things and go, ooh, I love the production value of that. Can we try that? It's weird. I'm not a beacon of how anyone should probably watch TV.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. You watch a lot. I don't mean that any criticism, just in case.
No, I know.
I just want to make sure. But
I understand.
Yeah, you like know as much about what's out there as anybody I know, and he knows. And I'm not far from him. Actually, I'm closer to him than I am to you. I'm very.
Well,
selective.
you are. You have my blood in you. I mean,
we've never officially determined that, I don't think, but yeah, like I'm like Mr. World War II documentary in the background late at night while I'm writing stories, or I'm occasionally I'm hooked into something like The Bear. It was one of the last shows I got really super into. So I know we got some TV news actually involving college athletics here.
Let's do that. All right, there we are. The Pac-12 now has their third network that will broadcast their games. They've added, they already had the ones you see. Now they also have added USA.
Yeah, they've signed a new deal with USA Sports through 2030-31. So if you pay attention to college athletics off the field, and especially to things like TV deals and its effect on realignment, then you know that 2030-31 date's pretty significant because that's when all hell's going to break loose. And if there's going to be more realignment, that's when it's going to be like it was just a couple of years ago, and maybe setting the stage for whatever college football looks like on the other side. Because think about it, what was it like before this last round of realignment? OU and Texas were in the Big 12, and it still geographically made some sense. Sorry, West Virginia. UCF, Houston, they weren't necessarily in the most geographically sensible conference with the American, but it had its perks and everything, and they were there. And the Pac-12 still existed as a full-fledged historic conference filled with USC and everybody else, and Oregon and Washington and Cal and so on and so forth. And now all of that has changed, and OU and Texas are in the SEC, and half the Pac-12's in the Big 12, and half of it's in the Big 10, and some of it's still in the Pac. And now, like you all know the deal. So that date of 2030-31 is significant, but USA Sports, their next partner along with CBS and also the CW, they will televise USA Sports 22 football games, 50 men's basketball games, and up to 10 women's basketball games starting next year. So it gets into, like in the ESPN write-up, like how they're being spun off from the whole Comcast situation. So that goes back into like the greater TV conversation about all the stuff that's ongoing. But the Pac-12 deal is the first media rights per ESPN partnership for the new USA Sports entity that is being spun from Comcast NBC. And it's going to be called Versant, is the new company that it will be under. And the new company created USA Sports through Versant, I guess. Or no, Comcast NBC is becoming Versant. And this will be part of USA Sports, which also encompasses Golf Channel, CNBC, along with USA. So anyways, they'll be on USA Sports, that in addition to the previously announced deals. And the games on USA Sports will be produced by that very critical piece of infrastructure that they did have, and they did keep in that lawsuit, which was the Pac-12 broadcast production arm. And so that will come in handy, Pac-12 Enterprises, to be specific. And yes, this deal with USA goes through 2030-31. That's when basically all the other contracts across the country run into at least a year of that date, one way or the other. So that's when all hell's going to break loose potentially again. The only question about this is, now this basically sums up everything, but the one question everybody wants to know is how much money is involved. And that we have no indication of. And that, I don't know if it will be revealed in like tax returns and things eventually, and that's how it will be found out. But there was no announcement, and that's, I think, a critical piece that most people want to know, because that'll determine kind of your happiness level. But for Pac fans, it's good news. You're going to have exposure, and it's going to be easy to see games.
Yeah, you want money too, and that's what another network, even if it's just a nickel and a dime, right?
Yeah.
Bob Thompson, I'm going to text him here in a minute and ask him.
NBC Sports just relaunched that channel today, so that gives that new company a more like places to put things eventually too. There'll be a ton of golf on NBC Sports, Smokey, by the way. Just so you know, like I looked at the thing today, and it's,
because they do they've got they own the golf channel?
Yeah, so they've got all that, but like having that will allow them to do maybe a little bit more.
Well, no, the new company, that USA Sports, is going to be the golf channel. It's going to be USA. It's going to be CNBC. And then it's Comcast NBC. This is not involving NBC. To the best I can tell, this is not going to be like that situation for them, because I saw that question asked, like, so are we with NBC now? And it's like, no, because of the way it's all been split up. And if you haven't been paying attention to all the super mega corporation moves and all that, like, I don't blame you. It's very confusing, and it's just all over the place and messy. So just know that the Pac-12 got the remainder, I believe, of their TV deal that they were waiting on announcing. It's just the big question is how much money, and I don't know if we'll know.
And guess what? NBC, Universal, Comcast, Versant, Omnicorp, whatever they want to be, is also investigating buying Warner Brothers. So that could come under there too, because what we need is unchecked corporations. It's always worked out well for the consumer.
You know, there's channels I don't even know exist. Like Toy Story, I just saw it said trailer for 5, not 6. 5?
That's what Brandon said.
Okay.
Do you think Brandon has... Okay, hold on. Brandon, put up your fingers again. How many fingers was that?
How many fingers are on a hand?
Right now, he's only pointing one at me. I think he's mad.
Well, that would add up to 6.
That's
after the other one.
No, I didn't know there were that many. I did not know.
So,
okay.
It's hard to believe that it has. But, yeah, all this stuff, I had forgotten completely about USA.
I forgot about the Pac-12 network and some of what Bob Thompson said. There was going to be some they kept that would be helpful down the road.
Yeah, I think that production arm was the big key, and that was a big part of their takeaway from the split was the money, but also the production wing, which was very, very valuable and state-of-the-art and all that kind of a thing. And so that will certainly come in handy here, and it will be a situation where there will be more games that are more accessible for people who are capable of watching USA Network and all of that. So I think from that standpoint, it's good news. Now, I also think it's one of those stories that if you're a Pac-12 fan, you're like, this is awesome. And then if you're a non-Pac-12 fan, especially if you're a Mountain West fan, I've seen that become like the huge rivalry here of late with all of the litigation and everything, the poaching of teams, allegedly. That opinion is, you guys, this deal sucks. And really the only way to tell if it sucks or not, I think ultimately would be to know the money figure, because that's going to be the big determining factor in kind of where you still feel like you're swimming and what pool you're swimming. But it's not going to be exorbitant no matter what it is. But, is it low enough to where, you don't want to put the number out there? I don't know what their idea is there, but I know that they are celebrating this move, and that helps complete a big question mark for those fans who, in many ways, have kind of been left to the wayside, especially there in Pullman and Corvallis, but also exciting for all of those that will be joining them soon, all the state schools that will now fill out the rest of the Pac-12, that for them, this is seemingly a step up. But I'm telling you, whereas the Big 12 and Pac-12, I think that was like a one-round knockout pretty clearly, very decisive matchup. This Mountain West Pac-12 thing, like there's bad blood between these two for good reason too.
Yeah, and if you are wondering, if you're just thinking to yourself, is jumping on with USA a good idea? Well, here's why I think it's a really good idea. If you turn to your wife right now and say, honey, do we have USA? The answer is, if you have cable or any kind of cable streaming service, yeah, you do. Mm-hmm. You got it. Yeah, it's on everything, which is why the CW is a good move for a conference like this because
they carry 365 Sports tonight.
But because it's everywhere. Yeah. It's not necessarily about the money, it's about the places.
It's about the money, it's about placement, it's about the revenue, it's the content, but it's also coverage area.
Yeah, so the 22 games on USA, they also have the CW still. They also have CBS Sports Network as well. But I will say that I don't know if it was at Oregon State last week. I'm starting to forget now. But I don't know what was up, but that picture quality was not great. And I've watched a few games on there now, and I don't know if that was a one-off or maybe I just hadn't noticed it before because I had it on multi-screens or something. But, I was not impressed with the look of the broadcast last week. Whatever that game was late Saturday night, I believe it was Oregon State, but I could be wrong. It was just a little fuzzy, and I flipped channels, and it wasn't anywhere else. So I don't know if that was just a kind of a one-off deal, but I do feel like the CW's actually positioned itself pretty well for sports and has done a good job picking up various properties. And so, congrats to the Pac-12. We'll see how that all pans out for them. But the most interesting note to me, with no skin in that game, is the timeline, of course. It's 20, 30, 31. That is doomsday.
Oh, God.
That is ground zero for whatever the rest of college sports will look like. Because the point I was getting to was, before this last TV round, things were geographic and regional, and now they're not. It's a totally different ballgame. So what does it look like on the other side of 30-31? How much different is it at that point? We'll see.
It's a blender. It's an absolute blender. You know what also interesting is 20, 30, 31, whatever, it's going to be 2 or 3 years before that, so it might be in the next year or two when all hell starts to break loose again, right?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness, what a day. We appreciate those of you watching and a lot of you in the chat room. And if you're watching on 365 Sports YT on Twitter, we appreciate you for doing that as well. And one other quick note, and then we come back with our Big 12 picks and Craig's Off the Radar. Oklahoma State transfer Noah McKinney has signed with TCU. He was one of those big names in the portal, has signed to play for Sonny Dykes and for TCU.
Yeah, I think the transfer rankings are a bit incomplete at this point because there's not been the mad rush at the end of the season that we're going to see here soon. But obviously Oklahoma State, with the firing of Gundy, their players eligible to go jump in there. And as it stands right now, I don't know where he'll ultimately fall, but I believe he's like the number one guy in the transfer portal rankings. I haven't really dove into those, but I did see that comment made, and it appears to be a nice pickup for TCU on paper. The transfer portal is inexact science. Guys who you think are stars somewhere don't necessarily translate, and sometimes they're much bigger stars than you realize. Trinidad Chambliss, for example. But, this appears to be a nice, solid pickup for TCU. But it is weird to already start talking about transfer portal moves at this point. But those pokes got to start making their decisions. They've been sitting in there a little while already.
Yeah, he's been gone, Gundy, for a couple of months. And a lot of guys entered the portal. We will have our big what? Go ahead, I can't read that.
So another piece of news that we'll go ahead and get to. Colorado's Rick George, their athletic director, is stepping down. He is stepping down at the end of the academic year. And according to Kyle Bonagura, will become a special advisor to the chancellor. The school put out an announcement earlier today. He's been the AD since 2013, and he is a former staff member under Bill McCartney at Colorado, where he was a recruiting coordinator, assistant AD for football ops. And so that was also part of their national title in 1990. He was involved at that point. He said it's been the honor of a lifetime, and he wanted to make the announcement now to give their chancellor plenty of time to find the right person for Colorado. And also, I wanted to time my announcement so that I could support Coach Prime and our football team this season, which I'm looking forward to continuing in my new role. So Colorado will now be looking for a new athletic director. So I thought that's notable to
Never
lump
got
in
a
as
chance
well.
to talk with him. We haven't talked to Mark Harlan. We have asked many, many times. There's always some kind of a, well, can we wait until this or we can wait until that? I think we need to get Mark Harlan. I don't know if he can talk now. He can't.
He might be a little busy at this point.
Yeah, now.
Things changed today
I
for him.
have tried so much. You have no idea with both of those two because, well, when they joined the Big 12 and since then. We going to do our Big 12 picks here or we have off the radar around the corner? What do you guys want to do? You talk to me. I'm just here. I'm a traffic stop.
Let's go ahead and do them now.
All right.
Yeah.
Here we go. I think I missed these last week because I had a game on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Here's the schedule. We're going to put it up in just a second. And we start with Arizona on the road against the Bearcats in Cincinnati.
I'll take the Bearcats at home here. I think they need to, shake off that Utah thing. And it stings me as much as it does them because I really put my neck out for them.
You did. Man,
I appreciated the confidence in making that pick, but I did not have that same confidence.
You know what I felt like? I felt like when I was a sophomore in high school and I asked this girl to a dance and I walked right up to her and I was like, "Hey, let's go to homecoming." We dig each other, and she goes, "No."
Oh.
And I was like,
Yeah, that's rough.
Well, no, yeah. It was fine. And you know what? In the moment, that's exactly what I thought. Afterwards, I thought, well, that at least
it might have been a win for you.
Yeah, like that she didn't dance around and play games.
Spare
yeah.
my feelings.
Good
So,
for
yeah,
her.
go ahead.
She was honest with you.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll take Cincinnati at home. They've had a couple weeks to get ready for this. Had bad taste in their mouth from when we last saw them against Utah. I mean, Cincinnati's story is they're a solid enough team, but they are, as Brendan Sorsby goes, and he's had some great games, and they've had big performances, and he's had some not-so-good games, and that's when they've lost games. So Arizona, I'm glad that they got bowl eligible last week. I think they built up something they can continue building off of there with Brent Brennan having punched their ticket, but give me Cincy at home.
Yeah, these are the two coaches among those at Big 12 Media Days that we felt like you could, well, along with Kyle Whittingham, you could feel like they really weren't just saying they liked their team. They liked their team, and both of them have performed that way. I'll take the Bearcats. Next game, K-State and Oklahoma State in Stillwater.
Kansas State.
I said K-State.
We said Kansas State.
I said Kansas State.
Oh, okay. I thought I said the wrong team. Paul.
No,
Okay,
Kansas,
yeah, me too.
Kansas State.
I hate it for Oklahoma State. They're in this rut, but yeah, K-State. All right, the Mountaineers and Arizona State.
This one's actually a little tough for me to pick, given that West Virginia appears to be putting a little bit of a run together here at the end of the year and playing with confidence. And I don't know how Jeff Sims is going to follow up his career game, literally his career game that he had just a couple weeks ago. But I'm going to lean Arizona State on this one. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but I'm going to lean Arizona
Leaning heavily, or
I'm going to pick
just
okay. Arizona State.
All right.
Yeah.
I will take Arizona State at home. I'm continuously just impressed by the coaching job of Kenny Dillingham, but I also think that after a really rough start, Rich Rodriguez has got them starting to go, okay, I can kind of see it. Like, we're tough on defense. The Scotty Fox kid, he's got a little something to him. I think there's reason to believe that they can go in there and give Arizona State a hell of a fight, and I don't think you can rule out the potential for an upset, but I think Arizona State's just a bit too talented for them right now. They're at home. Dillingham's a great coach. I know it's Jeff Sims at quarterback, and can he have back-to-back good performances? I'm going to say yes. Maybe not a career day. I'm not going to go that far, but it will be a challenge. Like, West Virginia could put him into a typical Jeff Sims classic multi-turnover type game as well. And if that happens, then that's the formula for West Virginia to win this game, but I'll take ASU.
If you look at those first three games, I'm taking ASU. 6-point favorite for Cincinnati, a 20-point plus favorite for K-State, and then also a 10-point favorite or more, 11 now, for Arizona State. We might have one of those weekends in the Big 12. Now, here's one. By the way, West Virginia has to they have to win out.
Yes.
They have to win that game, and then they get to play Tech. So UCF and Texas Tech up in Lubbock, which they're still on cloud 29.
Yeah. There might be a bit of I wouldn't be surprised to see them play a little bit of letdown early in this game, but they are so much more talented than UCF is right now. So I expect this one to be not in doubt by the end of the third quarter.
I think this is a pretty easy call for Texas Tech. They are the far better team in just every imaginable way at this point. I think this is all about, and for them, I think the key for Texas Tech is just keep Baron Morton healthy, because that is the domino that could fall that really now with Will Hammond hurt, that you can't afford to lose him in any capacity, because that is how these things could unravel. UCF can get after it a little bit on defense. I mean, I know it doesn't always show in the final score, but they got a bad taste in their mouth from last week too. UCF does, and the close loss there against Houston. I'm still going to believe that Scott Frost is going to, it's going to take time. He's going to get this on track, but it's not going to be this weekend in Lubbock. So yeah, Texas Tech, easy call.
Yeah, they're huge favorites. Maybe they have a moment where they burp in the first quarter, but I think it's just a matter they overwhelm UCF. I'll take Tech. Now, Utah at Baylor. Well, what a day it's been, but also what a week it's been. Baylor's coming off an off week, but I see this as, what do we call them? The rolling ball of angry razor blades at Utah. They run the ball well. Baylor cannot stop the run. Utah should win this game, and I'll be stunned if this thing is close.
Yeah, I'll take Utah. I think Baylor, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of support they actually have home-wise, and is that affected even greater by the Mack Rhoades news? Or there's more people are like, hey, we're ready for the new era, and they're showing support. But I think there's clearly a better team between these two, and it's Baylor. Now, if Sawyer Robertson can have like his A++ game, then maybe things get interesting.
But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll follow up with what you said about
then maybe he could make things interesting, but yeah, give me Utah. They're a more complete team in every way.
Paul, did you see the Davey O'Brien list? I want you to get to pick.
No.
Sawyer Robertson, there's like 20 semifinalists, and he's not on it. And I know that he had the bad game with Cincinnati, but I'm stunned by that.
Well, look, if you want to tell me he's 21st, I'll believe it too. But
Yeah.
I'm going to pick Utah in this game. This is a horrible matchup for what Baylor does poorly.
Mm-hmm.
What they do the worst is what Utah does the best. So unless that flips, Utah's going to win this game easily.
Yeah, I do think there is like specific areas. I would take Sawyer Robertson over Devin Dampier.
Yeah.
I would take Baylor's wide receivers and tight end with Michael Trigg specifically over Utah. Run game probably splitting the maybe if like Bryson Washington went healthy, I would take him over any Utah running back. There's like specific things, but team-wise, total package, Utah is a better total package. Yeah.
Utah runs the ball well as a group. Baylor doesn't stop it well as a group, and that's where the disconnect comes.
Well, you know where the numbers are?
Especially a running quarterback.
Utah is number 3 in the country rushing offense, and I got a feeling Baylor's probably out like lower than 100 when it comes to what they do. In fact, they're 111th. It's just oil and water there. All right, one more game. I take Baylor. No, I'm kidding. I took Utah. TCU and BYU.
I think BYU will get TCU's like really best shot here because TCU needs some good vibes, and BYU is obviously coming off of getting punched in the mouth in Lubbock last week. I just don't think that TCU has the horses to do what Tech did to Bear Bachmeier and get back there and stop him before he gets further than a yard away. I mean, that was the thing that kind of amazed me was I expected Tech's defense to contain Bear Bachmeier he has 39 yards rushing, and one of those is like a 17-yard scamper. I did not expect to see the furthest he gets past the line is just as tall as he is if he gets to the line of scrimmage and falls forward. Yeah. That was really shocking. But I don't think TCU can do that.
I think I will take BYU here. I think they'll bounce back. I think that they are a team built for a bounce back, and a lot of lessons learned last week. TCU's very inconsistent. Should have beaten Iowa State, and then they had to give up that big punt return late, and that was a bad loss for Sonny Dykes and company. Luckily for them, they've already got win number 6, but I know just making a bowl game's not really, whet the appetite or satisfy people there. Still, it's one less thing that you have to worry about as we get into the final couple of games. But, yeah, give me BYU at home off that loss. I think Sataki will have them ready to rip. And if Josh Hoover has a great day, then I could see them making it close. But I could also see BYU forcing like 3 interceptions and a couple fumbles as well.
I don't gamble, but Underdog's a great place for you to go over-unders on many things in sports. One of our great sponsors, what's the code? Underdog?
Underdog is Sports 365.
Okay. How much do you think BYU's favored in this game?
I
Just
think
what
probably
would you
like by
have
a little over a touchdown.
2.5 to 3.5 points in some cases.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think people respect TCU, so they're capable of beating BYU. It's just, can they avoid the pitfalls that have made them stumble a few times this year?
Yeah, if Hoover can stay clean and throw it clean, he could put up big numbers. All right, so there we are with the Big 12 picks. When we come back, we will have Craig Smoak off the radar, and around the corner, we have much more to get to, including that big finish that Andrew Valade puts together. And this is 365 Sports. It's been a while, right? Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store. And, okay, if you want to get some specials for this week or for tonight, they close at 6. Or for the weekend, or for tailgating this weekend if you're going to go to a home game at McLean Stadium. But they do a great job of having what you need when it comes to, well, the holidays. Thanksgiving around the corner. You want pitted hams or hams that are big, huge hams. They got that turkeys. Yes, they have that too. Or maybe a prime rib, a rib roast. They do that too. All of the seasonings and all the marinades you need and all the little nuggets you need when it comes to all the side items for Thanksgiving or for tonight or this weekend for dinner. And a full-service butcher shop and a full-service bakery, cold beer and wine. Waco Custom Marketplace, the Bauer family on Lake Air Drive in Waco.
You don't want to miss our best price deals during the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. This month, you can save big on the truck you've been looking for, like the new Rams. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel. With premium options like luxurious leather trim seating, surround view cameras, and more. Shop our great selection in-store or online today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Over 30% of adults struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code SPORTS365 to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code SPORTS365. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 and up. 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Welcome back to 365 Sports. Time for some Off the Radar, which means we take we don't really take a break for college football because the very first story is college football, but we try to veer outside the lines a little bit and touch on some other sports as well on Tuesdays and Thursdays at around this time. So let's get the college football story out of the gates first. And thank you, Sports Media Watch. For the first time in like 10 weeks, you guys have actually dropped the ratings in time for this segment, as opposed to like on Friday afternoons when we've already moved on to the following weekend. So I don't know what's been going on. Maybe they needed to hire a new ratings guy or something. Whatever the case, thank you for having this graphic available and making it easy for our audience and for myself as well to read. But here's like the big list of last weekend's college football TV ratings. And I don't use this to prove any kind of point about superiority, this or that. I think it's interesting to just throw it out there and look at what the most watched games are. Nothing else, like no narrative to drive home or anything like that here. But the most watched game last weekend, it was the SEC. LSU at Alabama, 7.5+ million viewers on ABC. The top rated from last weekend's mixed bag of matchups all over the country. In number 2, and that was a night game, by the way, there in Tuscaloosa on ABC. Their nightcapper. So that was the top draw, 7.5 million, 754 to be exact. Then Indiana, Penn State in a game that, whatever the wire is, as close as you can possibly get to it, was that game between the Hoosiers and the Nittany Lions with the Omar Cooper catch that will live in infamy no matter what happens with Indiana from here on out. Like, that's deserving of a statue. Like, that's something I would have outside the stadium with, like, the end zone line and him with a toe, like, that's barely in there. Like, that would make a great scene, and maybe they'll do that someday. But regardless, 6 million, just lower 6 million people got to see that game over on Fox. So a nice number for that one. And then rounding out the podium, so to speak, in bronze, the Big Ten again. Oregon and Iowa, another game that came down to the wire in the rain and the cold, and Oregon able to just nudge the Hawkeyes and avoid the massive upset. And really, more so than being a massive upset, it would have created a massive shakeup in the Big Ten and in the playoff. But Oregon able to get the win, 5.37 million watching that game. And so I'll stop there only to say this note that was dropped pretty much by everybody who I think covers these types of things. But per Sports Media Watch, ABC was the number 1 game for the 10th straight Saturday with LSU and Alabama. Now, it does say that with the Disney networks blacked out on YouTube for a second straight week, it wasn't as dominant, and it highlights that Fox and CBS both placed games in the top 3. It's the first time all season that ABC didn't have at least 2 of the top 3. So there you go with that. And this is not good news. I don't know if you guys want to hear this or not, but I gotta say it because this is also part of the caveat here. But before I get to that, at number 4, A&M in Missouri, 4.87 million for that matchup on ABC. So a very healthy number, and 500,000 or so from being the 3rd most watched game. But then at number 5, we wondered what that BYU Texas Tech game would look like. Well, finished 5th, 3.98 million, which seems like a good number. But the note that I have to pass along is that if you care about these sort of things, that BYU Texas Tech game was the network's, ABC's, least watched game in more than a month. So no surprise when the SEC's doing what they're doing. So I don't take that as like some indictment. They still had nearly 4 million people watch, which is more than every game but 4 all of last weekend. So you can spin that negative if you want to, but I don't think it's a surprise the SEC has more viewers than the Big 12, even when it's a major matchup, and that's just reality. So there was that caveat that they put on there, but still nearly 4 million viewers for that one. And, any thoughts at this point on any of those things? Or do you just not care about ratings at all?
No, I'm always very interested in look. I think that's a great look. drilling down and there was only 4 million. It's the 5th rated game. That's great news for the Big 12.
Yeah.
Like when the Big 12 and ACC get those kind of games, it should just inspire them to make sure that they work harder to get more of them. It's not easy. It's not an easy fix. Here's the thing that I think fans and everybody needs to realize. Mike Slive and Greg Sankey had a 20-year plan on this that has worked to perfection. Everybody else has jumped in the middle or to the end of their 20-year plan and is trying to duplicate their success. So the SEC had this running start, but who knows how things are going to change in the future. The best that you can do for your program in this time of parity is just go balls to the wall to make sure that you've got everything you need.
Okay, I agree with you. And you're right, those other conferences and all they've done. But I got to tell you, that's a disappointing number for me.
It is.
Yeah.
You're talking about the number, what was it, Garrett? Number 8 against 9 or 7 against 8 or what? That's just not enough. Now, again, BYU itself brings a lot of numbers because of who they are and their vast, fan base. And Texas team with all this publicity, and that surprised me. I thought I'm not saying I thought it would be 7 or 8 million, but I thought that would be about a 5 million viewed game, but it's not.
Yeah, and it's not even, if I'm reading things correctly, the highest rated Big 12 game this year. It is about a 500,000 lower than Kansas State, Iowa State in week 0 when they had obviously the platform basically all to themselves.
Yep.
But it fell short of that game, and that game had no stakes other than it's week 0. This is the game being played in Ireland. Here you go, you famished football fans. So I do think not topping that number has to be a disappointment given the extreme stakes this late in the season. And I remember Mandel had and whatever, but he had a tweet or something like a couple weeks back about how the viewership's fallen off a cliff. I think, well, for one, it depends on what you're comparing it to. And I'm not making excuses because that's not my job and I don't get paid to do that. And I'm not going to propagandize you people unlike other places.
You lost Perot.
Yeah, whatever. Fill in a blank. But I think that there's obviously, you can't really compare to years past with OU and Texas involved.
No.
Because that's just not comparable. But I also think what's hurt them is they did have a ratings gold mine that
in Colorado?
Fallen down the shaft, and that is Colorado.
Yeah.
They drew 7+ million not that long ago, in the last few years, and they are not right now very relevant. And Deion's still bringing in a couple million just based on being Deion. But when they were actually cooking with Shedeur and Travis Hunter, and you had must-watch TV, and you would think Texas Tech BYU would be that. But I do think that number's a bit disappointing, even though you'd much rather have that number than any game but 4 all weekend long. It's just I think you still were hoping for more.
Was the Utah Tech game a higher viewed game than that one?
I don't know off the top of my head. I tried to get just a straight list, and I probably need to put one together. I'm just not that in-depth with this.
Well, here's a Stuart Mandel tweet, and I know he took some heat for what he's – just being honest, this is evidence.
I mean, numbers are numbers.
The Texas
you can't
Tech
twist those,
Utah game was about 4 million among the top 40 at the time, and this is back about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So it was higher than even the game with BYU and Tech that had much more on the line, although the Utah – and Tech game had a lot of build-up, too.
So if looking now, and again, I don't have a list compiled because I'm not like that nerded out with it. But, yeah, Tech and Utah looks like week 4 had just over 4. So, yeah, they had more viewers than Tech and BYU. What was the BYU-Utah TV rating, I wonder, just while we're producing on air? It was a couple million. So that was not in the ballpark whatsoever.
I do say this, and you could even, okay, well, what time was it played? It doesn't matter. A big game at 12 noon or 7 o'clock. Sometimes prime time, but it's going to be a big audience. It doesn't matter when they play.
4 million should have been a bigger number given the fact that every time zone can watch that game comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, well, I mean, every window, you can try to break it down. So the window was Indiana, Penn State. So you can say, well, but they were still going to get 6 million for that game regardless of what was on the other channel. So I don't think it's that. I think there are cases where that is true. I don't necessarily think that here. Now, Georgia, Mississippi State was on at the same time. And whatever, but I'm not trying to excuse this away. I'm just telling you what the numbers were. So that was the number for BYU and Texas Tech. And we'll just leave it there because, I mean, Navy Notre Dame, 3+ million, Georgia, Mississippi State, 2.3, and then Syracuse, Miami, also just over 1 million on ESPN. So those were all the 1 million+ games there for you. Now, let's change over into some Texas Rangers news and some baseball news, but I really loved seeing this yesterday. Thought this was cool. Skip Shoemaker, the new Rangers manager, is starting to fill out his staff, and he made a couple of hires that I thought were interesting. A name that I have not thought of a single time since he was a Texas Ranger. I don't think I even remembered this guy existed, and if I ever heard his name, I have no memory of it.
Adolis.
No. Why would I not have heard his name?
I was just throwing. I'm
just sit it out for a second, please. So a name that I have not heard in forever was Rod Barajas, who has now joined the Texas Rangers staff as he will be one of many new hires that Skip Shoemaker is bringing on board. But also in a very cool move, Travis Jankowski, who was the hero of their World Series team at times just a couple of years ago, a journeyman besides his little window there with the Rangers, both pre and post Rangers. He's now retired from baseball after I think he played on like 3 different teams technically last year, was bouncing around everywhere in the minors, and I guess just finally decided at 34 years old, I've had enough. I'm going to go into a different career. And so Skip Shoemaker announcing 10 members of his staff, and those were a couple of names that popped out to me as far as just being, wow, Rod Barajas. I hadn't heard that name in forever. And then Travis Jankowski as well. So Barajas will be quality control, and Jankowski will be first base coach.
Jankowski with the flowing hair, right? Had the long hair, came in and subbed and had some huge moments. Barajas is an old catcher. So, I don't think you could ever have enough catchers on your staff if you have a baseball staff.
Hey, I think that if you are especially a guy like Rod Barajas who this guy caught a million different pitchers, a million different pitchers over different teams, different managers. The baseball knowledge that's just sitting in his head that he doesn't even remember he has yet. Like it'll just pop to him at some times is going to be immense. I'm excited about Skip Shoemaker and the Rangers. I think, you're going to lose a legend like Bruce Bochy, who you knew wasn't going to be there long anyway. I mean, he had unretired to take that job in the first place. But to get a young guy who got the Marlins on the verge a couple of years ago before an ownership change just decided they didn't like him, and he got bounced from there, and now he's been a part of your organization. I think that's a pretty good thing for the Rangers.
Yeah, I do too. It's just cool to see the name Rod Barajas again. I had not heard his name in a really long time. And then Travis Jankowski, I mean, they don't win a World Series without him. Unquestionably, they did not win the World Series without him. So he made his mark, and a year that he'll never not be a part of moving forward. And now he gets to be back on staff and has a post-baseball career in baseball, which is something that's pretty cool. So meanwhile, Major League Baseball is trickling out their various postseason awards. And just yesterday, we learned of the Cy Young Award winners. And on the American League side of things, they've already announced the Manager of the Year, and they've been kind of, putting these out here. And I know today there's more releases, and there's MVP and everything that's going to be announced as well. But as of yesterday, Cy Young was the latest announcement. And on the American League side of things, it was Tarek Skubal of the Detroit Tigers. And then over on the National League side of things, if you looked at his record and if you thought records still mattered in baseball, you'd be like, how in the world did he win it? But records don't matter for starting pitchers nearly as much as they used to these days. And so despite being a 500 record guy, he is the man. And I would put him like #1 draft pick overall type guy. Paul freaking Skeens, your Cy Young Award winner from the Pittsburgh Pirates, the former LSU star, boyfriend of Livy Dunn, and just one hell of a baseball player, more so than any of that other stuff.
I thought that you were going to say boyfriend of Garrett Ross.
Yeah. Oh,
considering
my God.
He's rocking all his Skeens
shirt
stuff
on
today.
Take
and
a
the
picture
Pirates
of
hat.
that.
Yeah. He's got it all on today because of Paul Skeens. But, the thing is, he's got a 500 record, and like you said, it doesn't matter as much. But credit to the writers for not getting drilled down to that and looking at the real problem with the stat is when Paul Skeens pitches, they don't score any runs for him.
Right.
Like they basically be like, "All right, Paul, you can give up maybe two."
And they expect him to maybe give up 2, right?
Yeah,
That's it.
like maybe
you
2.
Don't need much
if you give it 3 runs, Paul, we're sunk today.
Yeah, isn't that weird how there are pitchers that just have that I don't know if it's because the offense goes into the game, the hitters, and they're like, we don't need much.
Yeah, there was a year one of Roger Clemens' first years with the Astros, where their lineup wasn't that, like, he came right before the trade deadline. They need to bring in a bat. I think that's when they brought in Derek Bell. I can't remember, but their lineup was in such a slump for his first 10 starts that he was dealing one-run games, and they were losing 2-1 in all of them.
Yeah, that could
Paul
affect your
Skeens
record.
is doing that right now.
Yeah, and Paul Skeens actually on the front page of ESPN today, as he is. It's not the picture on the front page, but it is currently the top headline. Fresh off Cy Young win, Paul Skeens dismisses idea of leaving Pirates. That's how it's titled, but specifically on their front page, it says denies Yankees report. So that's specifically who was being rumored, and that's not going to ever leave him. And yeah, he's probably going to go be a Dodger or a Yankee the moment that he can be. Maybe he sticks around Pittsburgh, but he is 10-10 because he doesn't have the backing, and that's going to be the deciding factor, along with money and comfort and do you love living in Pittsburgh and all those things. But ultimately, are you going to win there? As good as you are, you're going to waste your prime years, and I hate that conversation, but it's a real conversation that he has to have with himself. And so I don't know if it'll be the bright lights of New York that sway him, although there was that to-do, his girlfriend had the apartment in New York. That was the whole controversy because they wouldn't let her in the building. So I don't know if that's she has one there still.
It's Babe Ruth's apartment.
Anybody
right, but they wouldn't let her buy it. Is what I'm saying.
Anybody that does not want Livy Dunn living in their apartment, and maybe they didn't want all the attention, is idiot.
What old New York money is as crabby as it gets. But
co-op board is crazy.
Yeah, no.
The point being is that they've already got some level of New York there in their lives. And so would that be appealing to him, or will he stick around Pittsburgh? But that's going to be the conversation surrounding him until he is signing a 10-year contract somewhere or a 5-year or something. But until then, he's going to be rumored to be a Dodger and a Yankee nonstop.
Yeah, Scooble twice now, right? Has won
back to back.
How old is he? 24?
26, 25, 26. He's not that old.
And I heard today when I was driving back from Dallas, or maybe on the way to Dallas, there was audio from Scott Boras. Remember that Wheel of Fortune or top 5 evil, wicked witches? He's one of them. And he was already positioning his client. I'm not sure if that means he's a free agent. I think it might be.
I'll just tell you right now.
He's unbelievable.
If any, Brandon, if you have a kid that's a baseball star, and I hope that happens to you, if you do, and you call me up and say, who should the agent be?
Yeah.
I'll be like, brother, it's Scott Boras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said he wants to extend his contract. He said that. Boras probably didn't like that, but he said, I want
that's
a
what you're supposed
contract
to
extension. I love Detroit. Hopefully I'm here.
Yeah, he's not a free agent until after next year, but he has said he wants to stay in Detroit. We will see on that. Meanwhile, MVP is going to be announced in less than an hour. As soon as we are off here, maybe get back in time by 6 to watch the MVP announcements on the AL. Got the choice between Aaron Judge of the Yankees, Cal Raleigh, who I think would be the guy for the Mariners, and then Jose Ramirez of the Guardians. And over on the NL, Shohei Ohtani of the Dodgers, Kyle Schwarber of the Phillies, and Juan Soto of the Mets. So that will be announced here in a few. And they've been doling out various other awards, and they still got to do Rookie of the Year as well. No, they announced Rookie of the Year already. They announced that. They announced Manager of the Year as well. I'm not going to dive into that. There was one award, though, that I did want to mention, the Clemente Award, which is given to someone with extraordinary character, community involvement, philanthropy, positive contributions, bestowed annually to the player that best represents the game of baseball through all of those things. Mookie Betts of the L.A. Dodgers, your Roberto Clemente Award winner.
You want to know? Yes, and Mookie deserves it. How much this stings. So today I'm going through Twitter, and Mookie Betts is co-hosting this MLB award show tonight. The other host is comedian and actor Roy Wood Jr. Now, Roy and I have known each other for 25 years. He helped me get started in comedy. He went to Florida A&M. I was at FSU. We did a ton of shows together. We talk about via text maybe 2 times a year, and it's usually when I see something that he's done that I've liked. I just to reach out and be like, man, that was hilarious. So happy and proud of him. I need to eventually reach out and get him on the show because he's a very funny dude and he loves sports. But I said to Amanda, I said, I am one step away. I have 2 people now, Max Muncy and Roy Wood, who know Mookie Betts pretty well. And I don't think I need to ask them to do anything because I think I'd cry if I met him just because I'm so sad that he's not a Red Sox anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine how you could have a Clemente Award winner type of guy, a talented player of that nature, and trade him away. Oh, wait, I was a Mavericks fan, so I actually have it worse than the Mookie Betts situation, as bad as you feel. But, yeah, I had to rib Paul a little bit there, so that was announced. But, yeah, MVP is going to be out here in less than an hour. And then final thing, we'll wrap it up here. You got NFL tonight going on. Got a little matchup there in Foxborough. I did not know until I saw this graphic, and I am a stickler for spelling. I did not know that's the proper way to spell Foxborough. I always thought...
You didn't?
No, I always thought it was the way they've showed it on ESPN for years. I feel like it's always just, it ends at the O.
Yeah.
But it's actually the UGH. Now, both are accepted because once I found this out, I was like, what? And apparently those that live there accept both ways. But I always thought it was just Fox, B-O-R-O. But that's actually the proper way to do it. But Jets and Patriots coming up later on tonight, and the Patriots will be wearing their special uniforms, their Nor'easter uniforms. So you can check those out later on Prime TV, but they're just like a slighter kind of difference, like white helmets, like kind of grayish navy jerseys and white pants. It's a cool look. It's not bad at all. So that'll be coming your way. You'll see a Drake May later on tonight in action.
Yeah, The Snow White is going to really pop with the all the just blood that will be on their jerseys because they're going to run through them.
Probably, very good chance.
Vrabel, like Mike Vrabel, has installed his attitude in that team, and it's very obvious. And
Drake
it's
May's
awesome.
had it.
By the way, I don't think you should have changed this, Foxborough. I think it looks a lot better. And look, if you want to be historically accurate, the Puritans that clearly were there first. That's how they spelled it.
Well, but they spell it that way.
Yeah.
That's the proper way to spell it, but they accept the other way.
What are boroughs? Isn't that in New York?
That's it's like a borough is like a neighborhood.
Area.
Right, yeah. So there we are. Okay.
And
I did not know that, Craig. I thought it was just ended at O.
And final thing, if you're not much of an NFL person, there's, of course, hoops going on all over the place, but there is one college football game later on tonight as well. Troy is at Old Dominion. Pair of 6-3 teams in the Sun Belt. So both of them sitting right there kind of in the picture. Troy at 4-1 in the Sun Belt. Old Dominion at 3-2 in the Sun Belt. Right now, Old Dominion, 10.5-point favorites. I think Old Dominion has like my favorite set of uniforms and colors in college. I just love their football uniforms. But right now, James Madison's leading that along with James Madison's leading the Eastern Division, followed by Coastal and then Old Dominion. So Old Dominion in a must-win if they want to try to get their way on top of the East. And then in the Sun Belt West, you've got Southern Miss on top at 5-0 right now, but right behind them is Troy at 4-1. So both are still within reach of making the Sun Belt title game, and this will be a big one for whoever wins. So 6:30 on ESPN. And that's everything that I've got for you today.
Man, that is a mouthful, and Judge is going to win the American League MVP. He's going to win. I'd
take Cal Raleigh.
I know, but I just
jumper, baby.
Yeah, I would love to see that, but I don't think that's going to happen. And of course, Ohtani is like minus 2,000 odds that he's going to win the NL MVP, and he should. All right, thank you, Craig. What else have we not quite touched on? Is there anything else, Brandon? By the way, if you're now joining us, we spent the entire 3 to 4 o'clock hour on the Mack Rhoades, no longer the college football chairman as far as the spokesperson, and also on leave at Baylor right now with what's going on with his story and his life. And so we went through that and got a lot of opinions from the people in the chat, us, our great viewers. We had a lot to say about it as well, along with Max Olsson and Sam Kahn.
And I don't know if we'll get a chance to say this on the way out, and I don't want to put a damper on the end of the show, but I do wish Mac well, whatever he's going through. I hope you get on the other side of it. I know you're a good person just based on my interaction. Now, you never know everybody's personal lives, and I won't pretend to, but going off just what I know, Mac, we wish you the best, man, and hope you get back on track, whatever the case may be. So yeah, but I also have to be honest, and no, I don't think he needs to be worried about the athletic director position anywhere right now. So I think the time has come for Baylor to kind of have this I won't call it a blessing by any stretch, but like if you were looking for a sign of like
opportunity,
an opportunity to go ahead and make a right turn, then I think you've just found your way into that. But I do wish, not that for even specifically Mack, but for the Rhoades family, for all of his family, I wish the best for you, and I'm sending whatever you believe in your direction.
I started off the show by saying it's no secret that we've been tied to Mack for a very long time. We had him on our show every week for 8 years. And then it changed, and that was fine. He's always been a friend to us. Like, he's not kind of the friend that, like, I'm going to call up and, go have dinner with all the time, but I will consider him a friend because he's always been good to us. He's always been forthright with us, and he's helped us out when we've needed some help. And one of the guys that called me the day that we got let go from the radio station was Mack Rhoades.
Yep.
And so I'll never forget any of that. And, we'll all be honest when it comes to what this means for Baylor, but I do think that, like, you take a step back and look at, like, what it means to the human cost of this. And if I was better friends with Mack, if I was one of those guys in his inner circle and he said, "What do you think when I get through this? Should I try to get back in?" I'd be like, "Man, buddy, you've done well for yourself. As long as you're taken care of, you spend some time with your family and work on that and make everything as good as you can. And then after that time period ends, then think about your next career move. But right now, leave all that behind because it does not matter.
Get up into your place in New Mexico and with whoever you need to be with, and figure out your life. We do wish you the best. We really do. When we come back, we'll have the wheel. We'll have Paul's top 5. We'll have quizzes from Andrew Valade wearing, what is that jersey? Stars?
Coyotes.
Oh, the Coyotes. And then also we'll have, of course, the poll results from Andrew Valade. We appreciate your time. We're not done. More to come. This is 365 Sports. Ideal, MRI.com in the Central Texas Marketplace off I-35 in Waco. I was in Dallas today. I have started to do some treatment, which is involving drawing blood and then spinning it and then putting it back in my lower back to try to help solve what has been that issue with my hip. But it's my lower back. It's got little gristly stuff in there. All of that. And when I called QC Kinetics, which I've had treatment with for the last, 2 months or so, they wanted MRI results. It was simple. I called Ideal MRI, please send them to me, and they sent them to QC Kinetics. And that's where you find out what's going on. That's where you find out how to get a diagnosis of how to get something fixed or to feel better, no matter if it's my back or yours or your knee or shoulder, your neck, whatever it is. Ideal MRI in the Central Texas Marketplace off I-35 in Waco, and it won't cost you anything more than $497. The average MRI is $1,100. Get your doctor to recommend them. Make sure he contacts them. Get in there. It's worth it for money and also evidence of what hurts at idealmri.com.
Every dog deserves a second chance. In a loving home, they'll brew a second cup. And let's change the world for every pup. One cup at a time. Visit us at groundsandhoundscoffee.com.
For the past 4 years, we have trusted Jackery to keep us powered while on the road. The Explorer 5000 Plus provides 5,040 watt hours of portable power to pair it with the smart transfer switch to power your entire house off the Explorer 5000 Plus.
When you view the glass half full, the little things become magical. 10% of profits go to help kids heal. So choose optimism and make the magic real. Visit lifeisgood.com.
For those who want the best, look no further than the Founders Series by Louisiana Grills. If you want the best food, then you need the best grill. Louisiana Grills.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Today, we've got top 5 coaches that aren't leaving. I'm going to say probably. So it's probably. Like anything can happen, but I'm going to stick with probably so that later on, if one of these guys leaves, you don't send this back to me and be like, you were wrong. It was almost wrong. Number 5, Lincoln Riley. Been rumored for the LSU job, and while I don't believe most things that coaches say, I do believe the tone in which they say them. And the other day when asked about this, Lincoln Riley said, do you know what I went through to get here? And it was a lot. Like, people in Norman do not welcome him anymore. He cannot walk into Mickey Mantle Steakhouse in Oklahoma City and not get at least like a piece of toilet paper on his steak. Like, it would not go well for him in the Sooner State right now, given the way that he left that program. Plus, USC is giving him a sweetheart deal. He lives in a great $9 million house that they paid for. He has access to the private jet. I doubt that LSU can offer him the same kind of views, even though Baton Rouge this time of year is lovely. Number 4, Brent Key said in the press conference when asked about other jobs, you know what color I bleed. He's at his alma mater. That's going to be a tough pull. Plus, he's in Atlanta. And while there are some academic restrictions because Georgia Tech is one of the elite schools in the country, he can still have access to a ton of talent in Georgia and the surrounding areas that will want to come and play for a coach that's as awesome as Brent Key. One of my favorite coaches in the entire country. If your favorite program hires him, they've done a great thing. I just don't think he's leaving right now because I feel like he's just getting started at Georgia Tech. Number 3, Matt Campbell. This happens every year. I actually think he'd be a great fit at Penn State. I think he would do very well there. I think he could break through and do things at Penn State that he cannot do at Iowa State or hasn't been able to do at Iowa State because of the funds that will be available to him compared to what's available to him at Iowa State and the size of the school and all of that. I just think that they haven't been good enough this year to be able to sell it to the Nittany Lion fan base, and that will keep him there. And plus, Iowa State's his job until he doesn't want it anymore, and that's a really nice thing to have in coaching nowadays. Number 2, Jeff Brom. There are a bunch of schools that want Jeff Brom because he's an awesome coach and is really just at the beginning of his head coaching career when you look at it. But he is the first son of Louisville. He is at a place that loves him, that fought to get him through 2 different previous head coaches as their head coach. He's finally there. He's doing a fantastic job. You will have to pull Jeff Brom out of Louisville with the jaws of life. He is not going anywhere. And number 1, and probably the reason for the probably, definitely the reason for the probably, definitely, I know it's confusing, Lane Kiffin. LSU's job is a mess, an absolute mess right now. And you've got Brian Kelly suing the school over the buyout, them trying to retroactively say he's fired for cause, even though that had nothing to do with it, and they haven't been able to say what that cause was. You've got the governor that will pipe in and get involved and probably added to a lot of this chaos. You have a situation where a job that should be an elite job has a lot of things you don't have to deal with at the current place that you are. Also, Florida is not as great a job as it used to be, especially given the fact that they have not won under anybody since Urban Meyer, and that was 4 coaches ago. So Lane Kiffin is going to be expected to win at Florida in a second once he gets to Gainesville, if he takes that job. The same at LSU, and I'm sure that he could, but also he's now built the program at Ole Miss to where they're a contender year in and year out, which was never the case before for the Rebs. That's going to do it for the top 5 and Triple H Carnival right now. And the wheel is spinning, and okay, this is an interesting one. What do you look forward to the most when you interview players and coaches?
Gosh, I think it just kind of depends on who we're talking to. I hate to not answer the question exactly, but I don't have an answer that's just like their favorite color. It really depends on, I got to judge kind of the personality to know where to go with it. So it takes maybe a second for me to kind of decide, like, can we go fun here, or is this guy a bit more serious, or who are we talking to and about what too also matters a great deal. So I know that's a non-answer, but that's how I approach it. So I don't have a better answer than that.
My biggest thing is I want to know about what is unrelated to what their job is. Like, what's their thing? Like, that's what I look forward to most is knowing the person, not the job so much. I mean, it's always great to talk to a coach and get down into the nitty-gritty of all those things. But my favorite times we talk to Jeff Trailers when he talks about his white couch that he's not allowed to sit on and the bird bath and all those other things. Like, those are fun. I think, my favorite interview of all time that I may have ever done is Joe Kelly, the relief pitcher. And we talked about baseball a lot, but we also talked about a lot of random things a lot. And the reason it was so good is because it just happened naturally, and it was just a conversation. So those are the kind of things that I look forward to a little bit more.
Yeah, you guys know how much I love to do a human interest, and I try to do a lot of homework, and then you can almost do too much because then you start you want to pull that out of your whoever it is, a player, coach, or AD, or anybody. But I love to go talk to a football player. That's great, but I also want to know, again, what he does outside of that keeps him happy and busy.
Yeah, I think sometimes the lack of people seeing stuff like that allows you to, and I think some people don't want to see it because it allows them to be like, this guy is a helmet that gets me touchdowns.
Yeah.
And that's why I like it more, because I think a lot of
lost me $50. He should die. Like,
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, there's
he's a human being.
Yeah, it's a Louisville football player or something.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the reason that Jameis Winston is so well liked now is because, like, he's just so affable, and it's not when he's affable talking about football, he's just affable in general. Like, he has funny interests and weird things, and that's just why people like him. And so, yeah, I think that those are the more interesting things to me.
All right, so there was the wheel. Andrew, do you come up with these on your own? Good, really are. It's kind of fun to get to know Paul and Craig after all these years. No, really, I didn't. You never know how they're going to be. All right, Paul.
This NFL coach was the first to be drenched with a Gatorade cooler, starting one of sports' most iconic traditions. Smokey knows this.
Bill Parcells.
You raise your hand really fast.
No, I'm good at this.
Yeah. Okay. Craig, do you want to dispute him?
No. I mean, if you're going to be that confident about it, and I don't know the answer, so yeah.
Yeah. Let's go. Bill Parcells, final answer. There we go, Smokey.
Yeah, that started that tradition, the Gatorade bath, and it was back when he was with the Giants, and they had that. They won in '86, and then they won again.
It happened in a Washington game.
Yeah.
Or you could just read it off. They started in '84 when nose tackle Jim Burt.
No, I said they won the Super Bowl, and it started this tradition. But, yeah, in '84. I'm sorry.
The Giants started the Gatorade shower tradition in '84 when nose tackle Jim Burt doused Parcells after a win over Washington. Revenge for a tough week of practice. Harry Carson turned into a team ritual, became famous during the Giants' Super Bowl, to your point, 21.
They beat the Patriots.
21 victory in 1987.
Yep.
There you go.
Okay.
I raised my hand almost
immediately.
Yeah,
it was good. I'm proud of you.
I got some knowledge.
Yeah. Next, which has a higher success rate in football, a fourth down conversion or a 2-point conversion? I think it's fourth down.
It doesn't say conversion under fourth down. It says attempt.
Fourth down attempt, yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to make it.
Yeah, it does. A higher success rate.
Success rate means you make it.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm going to say fourth down.
At this point, I would say, probably fourth downs as much as people are going for them.
There's a lot of 2-point conversions going on more and more in high school football. Like, not sure of lack of kicking. It's maybe analytics.
No, okay, it's not only lack of kicking. This is the thing that drives me nuts about high school football now. It's lack of long snappers, man.
Yeah, or extra points and field goals. It's short snappers.
Yeah, but lack of
I don't
long
know.
snapper.
I have no idea.
You know what makes me madder is when a team had a crappy long snapper and then like the ball, you can time it with a sand, an hourglass going back to the punter, and then the other team doesn't just go hit him. They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
It drives me insane. Like I would, when we have those games in high school football, it would hurt me to my core.
You are no longer allowed to even say.
I know. Hey, look, I'm happy. Yeah,
all right. So what do you think?
I think
Craig,
it's fourth
Paul?
downs.
Okay.
Yeah, fourth down.
All right. We are
Boom. Yeah.
We are dominating Andrew of late.
Yeah. NFL teams can run at 51% of fourth downs. College teams, 55%. NFL two-point attempts succeeded at 48.2 and college at 45.8, with runs generally outperforming passes. The 2025 season is historic as college football teams are going for it on fourth down more than in any of the past 10 years, signaling a major shift towards aggressive play calling. So there you go. Good stuff, Andrew.
Pretty evident every Saturday and even Sundays now. Well, whatever nights that all these football games are being played.
In the first 20 years, no, maybe the first 30 years of my football watching life, I never saw anybody in the second quarter go for it on 4th and 1 from their own 29-yard line.
Yep.
And now I see it 10 times.
All the time. Sometimes you want to, listen, if you're the one making the decision, make it and move on, but just don't start chasing points. If you go for 2 or you miss an extra point and then you start going for 2, you're going to lose 5 points or 6 points rather than just maybe a blocked extra point. All right, 4th down. Mack Rhoades is fired. Is Dave Aranda next? Wow, look at the number.
Yeah, I mean, 68% say yes, he is. 28% says no, he gets one more year. And 4 says he's safe with a new AD. Out of 377 votes. Yeah, I don't think this is good news for Dave Aranda.
Yeah, I don't take this as any good news in any way. The only way this could be good news was if it maybe puts off what would otherwise be inevitable or would be occurring, because now the timing of it throws you into such a loop where it's not just hiring a football coach, it's hiring the AD who needs to hire the football coach. So I could see where maybe they're so short on time. And let's think about this as well. Maybe this is a year where you didn't want to jump into the coaching hiring pool because of how long the line already is. Although you'll be able to jump some spots, but you're not jumping to the front line by any stretch of the imagination. So, I think that this is bad news, if anything. And I think, again, this is kind of a sign. And I like Dave Aranda as a person, but, man, it's a business. And so it is what it is. And I think he's had more than enough time to kind of establish. He's had some successes, but we've talked about this. There's just this feel of just whatever around here. And the crowds show it. The internet shows it. The records show it. And I just feel they need an injection of something new. And maybe it's better to knock out 2 birds with one cycle than it is to spread it out, but we'll see what decision they make.
I mentioned this in an interview in Salt Lake City. Dave Aranda is a really good person. Everyone likes him that I can think of, but let's not forget that he's fired a lot of coaches around him to try to either bide more time or to make his team better. So it's not like he hasn't fired some people, and eventually you look around the room and you're the only one left. I would hate it, but can you hire the next head coach without the AD first?
I mean, you can, but I don't know if that's the best plan. So I don't know what they have in order and what they're probably talking about this very minute, not too far away. So I think, you're not far away at all from having to make that decision like in the next couple days of what direction you're going to take, because if you're going to get a search firm involved, and maybe they were already doing that, I'm pretty sure Mack Rhoades had his list, and I'm pretty sure Jeff Traylor and Eric Morris and whoever else you would want to throw that mix are going to be on any list of any AD candidate that was going to be in position to hire the next head coach at Baylor, if in fact that's what they do. So I don't think there's going to be some magical list that somebody else has that nobody else. But as far as the due diligence and things of that nature, like, you're in a cram now. And so probably some of that legwork's been done, but because you just always have to be prepared, especially if you're seeing like, oh, there's a chance we probably do need to make a hire here pretty soon. We better get this started up. I think they've probably done that, but does that info jive with whoever takes over? I don't know. It's a big question. It's the biggest question right now for them is if they have to do that. But I guess the biggest question is, are they going to do that with the AD spot or the football spot?
I can't think of I don't think you can hire the football coach without having the AD in place. Remember Bob Bodine and that search firm? I'm sure that they might lean either on him or somebody, but I would think that who Baylor would eventually hire, and you mentioned some of those names, there's only one or two other schools that would be also looking at that in that particular part of the pool. Yeah, but a lot of other ones, they're not going to be competing against some of those other schools for who they are looking for.
Yeah, I think that like a school like Baylor, again, like they're not calling Lane Kiffin. They're not doing.
And
that.
I don't know where I don't know if it started on Sikkim 365 or whatever about Lincoln Riley wanting to get back to Texas or whatever. I see that. I would love to be proven wrong. I know that every time there's been a Baylor coaching cycle, there's some like far off name that's like, dude, I'm telling you, Saban's interested. Like a dude told me who told me a dude who told me. And it's like they hire Matt Rule, and it's like, man, I'm telling you, freaking Kirby Smart, like he's got a cousin in Texas. Like there's always that kind of thing. So I feel like Lincoln Riley's in that same boat. But that's the far-off rumor that's already been out there for a couple days, and I don't buy that. But, you never know, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's a good bit to be
done. You talking about Lincoln Riley and the Baylor?
Yeah, no, there's a good bit to be done in there about message boards and, like, you got to make them say no.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's somewhat true, yeah.
It is somewhat true, but sometimes, like, don't embarrass yourself.
I think there's some smoke to at least the interest with a couple of places, but remember where Mack almost got a job as an AD? Was it USC?
I mean, I can buy that Lincoln Riley would want to come back to Texas. I can buy that he would maybe want to come back to this part of the country. I don't know that he would leave the Big Ten and USC for Baylor in the Big 12 with so much uncertainty right around the corner, though. Like, that would be my question. And right now, it's not like they're losing in L.A. Like, they're
he's
a
actually,
top 25 team.
They got some work to do.
So,
but yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's going to have its own carousel of rumors like anything else. It's just a matter of, are we going to jump on that carousel here in the next few days? And I think, obviously, wins and losses will matter, but this AD decision is probably going to matter more than anything, because if they do decide to go a different route, then I think history shows that unless you are Nick Saban, and even then it can cause problems, that ADs like their people. So that's going to be the determining factor in whether or not we're talking about that. Or they just lose out, and I think no matter what, you've got to go, oof, like we got to do something here.
Yeah. And next one. What is your current trust level in the CFP's committee ability to rank the top 12? 8% say full trust, low trust and moderate, neck and neck at 41 and 40, and zero trust is 11%.
8% also known as Ohio State fans.
They had sit back on every Tuesday and be like, yeah, we're going to be fine.
Yeah, we're good.
I think that for the most part,
I'm moderate.
If there was something between moderate and full trust, that's what I would choose, but there's not. I don't have complete trust, no, because we've seen too much that it doesn't make sense. But I do think they have a hell of a hard job. And I don't think anyone walks in the door unless they are relatives of Greg Sankey with any kind of, I'm just joking, with any kind of agenda. Yes, if you're from the Big 12 or SEC or Big 10, whatever, yeah, you'd like to see another team or two get in. But I think for the most part, most of these people who are part of it, no matter their past, are going to try to do everything possible to do it right based on the rules, as Dave Bartu told us, that are laid out in front of them, where opinions really don't come into play until maybe there's between one team or another. All right. Thank you very much, Andrew. Good stuff. Appreciate it. Garrett Ross. Proud of Paul Skeens and the Pirates hat, and then the Skeens T-shirt, and God knows what he has, a tattoo of Livy Dunn somewhere in there. I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't think the missus would like that.
No, I know. Brandon, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys, because we had a lot of moving parts, as you know, today. Thank you in the chat. Those who watch us on Twitter, thank you for those who watch us on YouTube. For Craig and Paul, I'm out tomorrow with a high school football game. Have a great night. Good night, 365 Sports.